Chapter 946. In the sky above Kunlun ruins, Dao Sect. The moment Yi Chen severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy lock, he also felt a drastic change in heaven and earth. The spiritual energy had recovered, and essence energy was like a flood. The entire Kunlun ruins was completely enveloped in extremely dense spiritual energy, as if it had become a true paradise on earth. At that moment, countless people in the Kunlun ruins broke through one after another under the dense spiritual energy. For a moment, beams of powerful aura shot into the sky, followed by countless excited voices. Suddenly, specks of starlight sprinkled down from the sky. The starlight was like snow, filled with endless holy energy. The old saint of Purple Cap Mountain, Zi Qingtsang, trembled slightly before he became extremely excited. Spiritual opportunity. This is spiritual opportunity. Spiritual opportunity has recovered under everyone's gaze. His old face turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even his white hair was no exception. In just a few breaths of time, his face had returned to that of a 14 or 15-year-old boy. Just from his appearance alone, he looked like an ancient study boy. At the next moment, he took a step forward and disappeared into the void. An extremely dignified voice followed. From today onwards, Purple Cap Mountain will be sealed for 3 days. Another few figures fled. Star Sect will be sealed for 3 days. Spirit Talisman Sect will be sealed for 3 days. Almost at that moment, many of the forces present left in a hurry. At the same time, they spread the news that they would be sealed for 3 months. Clearly, even they benefited from Yi Chen breaking the heaven and earth spiritual energy lock. Therefore, they could not wait to go into closed-door cultivation. Peak Master. The new sect master of the Corpse Sect, the sect master of the Witchcraft Sect, Elder Qing Xian of the Ninth Peak, and the people from the 7 ancient clans looked at Yi Chen. You guys can go too. How could Yi Chen not know what they were thinking? He nodded slightly under everyone's expectant gazes. After everyone had left, Chen Xiaobei's expression darkened. Something happened again. Streams of spiritual energy that were so condensed that they looked like they were solid gathered from all directions like dragons. They entered Yi Chen's body in an extremely crazy manner. From afar, dragon shadows were rolling all over Yi Chen's body at that moment. There was a faint dragon roar that filled the sky, and it was filled with supreme dignity. If the people who left earlier saw this scene, they would definitely vomit blood from jealousy. Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, a gleam flashed through his eyes. Is this the reward from the 9 dragon veins? Everything in the world was about karma. Yi Chen had saved the 9 dragon veins. Somehow, they had given Yi Chen a large amount of heaven and earth spiritual qi. Yi Chen heaved a sigh of relief. There's so much spiritual energy. As long as I spend some time refining it, it'll be enough for me to recover to nascent soul. Master, the heaven and earth spiritual qi is so dense. I have a feeling that I can use the heaven and earth spiritual qi to recover a little. Night Demon said with slight excitement. Yi Wushuang said slowly, me too. At that moment, Yi Chen no longer hesitated. With a flash, he arrived at the 9th peak. He lifted his hand to set up a barrier and officially went into closed-door cultivation. After everyone had left, Ying was the only one left in the same place. His expression was as calm as ever. It could be said that the secular world and the Kunlun ruins had benefited as Yi Chen severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal. However, he was the only one who gained nothing. Because he was a zombie, the sinful body of the first emperor, he was abandoned by the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and man. He was immortal, and the so-called saint's spiritual opportunity had no effect on him at all. At this moment, 4 figures with monstrous corpse energy landed beside him. The 4 drought demons knelt on one knee, completely loyal. Ying took a deep look in the direction of the 9th peak, and a strange arc flashed through the depths of his dignified eyes. Let's go. As he said that, the bone wings on his body flapped and flew. Like a primordial ferocious beast, he led the 4 drought demons and the 3,000 bronze-armored corpses through the gate of heaven that led to the secular world from the Kunlun ruins. At the same time, a faint voice sounded, "Go to the spring platform and gather the old troops. Kill Yama." The entire Kunlun ruins fell into silence. On the second day of Yi Chen's closed-door cultivation, the silence was finally broken. Terrifying auras soared into the sky from every corner of the Kunlun ruins. "Ha ha ha, I've broken through. I've become an Emperor stage powerhouse." A martial venerable who was a martial venerable before was extremely excited. "I've also become a supreme giant." On the second day, the commotion was even greater. One after another, people broke through under the dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Many small sects became second-rate sects in one fell swoop, and second-rate sects became existences that were comparable to supreme sections. Even the 9th peak was no exception to this commotion. The 9th peak had gained more than 10 supreme giants, and Elder Qin Xian himself had stepped into the creation stage. The Kunlun ruins had gained another quasi-saint. At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the 9th peak and Purple Cap Mountain, because Ziqing Song and Yi Chen had chosen to go into closed-door cultivation. Everyone was looking forward to how the 2 most powerful combatants of the Kunlun ruins would increase their combat strength. In the early hours of the 3rd day, a phenomenon suddenly appeared on Purple Cap Mountain. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon appeared on Purple Cap Mountain. A purple qilin stepped on colorful clouds and emitted a holy light that illuminated the world. At the same time, everyone in the Kunlun ruins could vaguely sense it. It was a mysterious feeling, as if someone had obtained the acknowledgement of heaven and earth. "Congratulations to the old saint for officially becoming a saint." A mighty figure looked at Purple Cap Mountain from afar, and his expression changed drastically. Then, he took a deep breath in and cupped his fists at Purple Cap Mountain from afar. "Congratulations to the old saint for officially becoming a saint." In every corner of the Kunlun ruins, countless martial artists bowed and cupped their fists at Purple Cap Mountain, their expressions filled with respect. Ziqing Song had finally broken through. He had become the first saint after the Great Calamity, and he was also the only saint in the Kunlun ruins in the past few hundred years. On the 9th peak, a bolt of purple lightning streaked across the sky and landed on a cave abode on the 9th peak. The bolt of purple lightning had a diameter of 30 meters. In the face of such a destructive aura, Elder Qin Xian and the others fell into endless despair. A sword gleam suddenly shot out from Yi Wushuang's cave abode. The gentle sword strike actually forcefully destroyed the bolt of purple lightning. Then, a clanging sword chi soared into the sky. Under everyone's gaze, it transformed into a young man who was only 17 or 18 years old dressed in white. Everyone realized that the young man's gaze was as deep as the ocean at this moment. His black hair had already turned silver, and it poured down like a silver river, dazzling. Quasi-saint. Elder Qin Xian and the rest were dumbfounded. Then, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Wushuang has also stepped into the quasi-saint stage. Such a young quasi-saint. Not to mention the Kunlun ruins, even during the pre-Qin dynasty, when all the saints rose, no one had ever stepped into the quasi-saint stage at such a young age. "I wonder how Big Brother is doing." Yi Wushuang looked at the cave abode where Yi Chen was from afar. There was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. At the next moment, his gaze suddenly turned cold. Chapter 947. At the next moment, Yi Chen's body swayed, and his body suddenly expanded to over 30 meters tall. From afar, he looked like he had transformed into a primordial beast. Golden pupil flame, activate. The 2 golden flames in his eyes flickered violently a few times before shooting out 2 pillars of light that towered into the sky. At this moment, his eyes were surging with divine light, and endless divine power swept out from his body, filling the entire world. Oh my, Mei Nizhao looked like he had seen a ghost when he saw that. What is in this brat's eyes? He can actually release such a divine light. The two pillars of light almost pierced through the sky, like two huge flashlights sweeping back and forth between heaven and earth. Found it. Suddenly Yi Chen's gaze paused. Under his gaze, he saw an extremely huge chain on the barrier of the Kunlun ruins. The chain pierced through the east and west, connecting the north and south, connecting the sky and the ground. It extended out one by one, and there was no end in sight. It could be said to have connected the entire Kunlun ruins and even Earth. On the huge chain, there were inscriptions and formation power rippling on it. It was extremely majestic and heavy. He actually locked Earth too. Golden flames surged in Yi Chen's eyes as his smile turned cold, suppressing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth with a heaven and earth spiritual energy lock. As expected of the saints. If it wasn't me today but someone else, I'm afraid they wouldn't have the ability to break your divinity. He smirked coldly and took a step forward. Then, he spoke slowly with an indescribable dignity in his tone. My left hand is the sword, and my right hand is the saber. My liver and gallbladder illuminate the universe and Een. At the next moment, Yi Chen suddenly opened his palms. A saber and a sword shot out from the sky. The saber chi was like a wave, and the sword chi was like a flood. Life and death condense, vast righteousness, short songs end, the moon waxes and wanes, the sun and stars move, the universe is dark. Today, in my name, I, Yi Chen, will break this shackle for billions of living beings in the mortal world and restore the glory of the 9 provinces. He suddenly took a step forward. With one hand as a saber and the other as a sword, he slashed at the heaven and earth spiritual energy chain in an extremely domineering manner. Ding! The spiritual energy lock of heaven and earth shook violently before a crack appeared on it. The imprints left behind by the saints began to repair themselves. Yi Chen remained unfazed as he slashed again. The aura on his body was getting more and more powerful, as if a saint king had descended to the world. Ding ding ding, the second slash, the third slash, the fourth slash. With every slash, cracks would appear on the heaven and earth spiritual chi lock, and the cracks would grow larger and more numerous. Kacha, kacha, an ear-piercing sound was heard. Rumble, the spiritual chi lock of heaven and earth, refined by the saints, finally began to break. It was extremely powerful, as if a mountain was collapsing, causing the void to shake endlessly. At that moment, the sky changed color, the wind and clouds reversed, the earth quaked, the mountains swayed, the mountains roared, and the spiritual energy of the world that had been sealed in the sky was like a flood bursting through a dam, crazily sweeping towards this world. The spiritual energy was like a mist. The heavenly gate leading to the secular world had opened. Roar! At this moment, dragon roars came from every corner of the Kunlun ruins, shaking the 9 heavens. Then, 9 colossi soared into the sky, covering the world. At that moment, everyone in the Kunlun ruins saw the 9 colossi, and all of them were shocked. Amidst the shock, someone cried out in shock, "Dragon, that's a dragon! There's actually a dragon in the Kunlun ruins." "It's not a dragon, it's a dragon vein," a powerhouse said in shock. Before they could react, the 9 dragons whistled through the sky at the same time and headed straight for the heavenly gate that led to the secular world. The 9 dragons soared and returned to the mortal world. The world changed drastically, and the spiritual energy recovered. In the secular world, as the 9 dragons soared, a phenomenon appeared in the sky. The scene of 9 stars aligned, which was rarely seen in 1,000 years, appeared. Many satellites and detectors captured this scene. For a moment, the entire world was in an uproar. What shocked them even more was that the fog slowly spread in all directions. Be it the eastern countries or the western countries, many places were deep in the fog. Under the fog, everyone felt the changes in their bodies. Everyone felt that their bodies had changed. The elderly had regained their pure vitality, and the terminally ill had miraculously recovered from their terminal illnesses. In a funeral parlor in the west of China. In the funeral parlor, a funeral was being arranged. The village chief, Li Fugui, had died of stomach cancer an hour ago at the age of 68. Today was the day of the cremation. Many relatives and friends came to the funeral parlor and stood at the door, silently looking at the ice coffin inside, sending the old man off for the last time. Li Fugui's children cried nonstop in front of the ice coffin. To everyone's surprise, a thick fog came from the outside and almost enveloped everyone. After the fog dissipated, an elder walked up to a young man and comforted him. "Little June, it's time." Li Fugui's son, Li Jun, wiped away his tears. He stood up and nodded at the crematorium staff, who had been waiting for a long time. However, when the ice coffin was pushed to the door, an ear-piercing sound came from inside, as if fingernails were scratching the coffin lid. Bang! This sudden scene immediately frightened everyone. Even the person in charge of pushing the ice coffin left the ice coffin and ran away. The corpse had come to life. Father, even Li Jun was shocked. He did not dare to go forward and could only call out from afar. Under everyone's gaze, the dead man in the ice coffin suddenly roared, "Little B****, I'm not dead yet. Why did you lock me in here?" In the south of China, in a slaughterhouse, there were many pigs, cows, and sheep. They were waiting to be slaughtered and placed on the dining table. However, as a thick fog spread, the dozens of pigs, cows, and sheep in the slaughterhouse became extremely agitated. "Scream, what are you screaming for?" The owner of the slaughterhouse walked in with a butcher's knife in his hand, shaking the muscles on his face. "I'll kill you right now if you scream again." Roar. Under his horrified gaze, he saw the pig closest to him suddenly roar angrily. Its eyes turned red, and its body suddenly expanded several times. Roar, roar, roar! The rest of the pigs, cows, and sheep did the same. Following a blood-curdling scream, a corpse that had been bitten and trampled to the point that it no longer resembled a human appeared on the ground. Meanwhile, dozens of giant beasts broke free at the same time. On the Pacific Ocean, a yacht moved slowly and steadily in the sea. There was singing and dancing on the yacht. On the deck, a few crew members held automatic rifles and kept shooting at a shark that was chasing after them. Blood instantly appeared on the surface of the sea. The few foreigners laughed out loud in pride. However, as a thick fog spread, a shark that was as huge as a killer whale soared into the sky and smashed heavily on the yacht. Russia. A 200-feet-long crocodile stuck to a skyscraper and climbed up crazily in a seafood restaurant in Boston. A 30-feet-long Boston lobster burst out of the restaurant. A pair of huge pincers clamped onto a person each, and the two people were snapped at the waist. Japan. America. Similar scenes happened in almost every corner of the world. In the fog, humans, animals, and plants mutated. Then, there was an earthquake. At that moment, regardless of whether they were still in school, working, or sleeping, they all felt the ground shake violently. What happened? Is it an earthquake? The earthquake covered the entire world. It happened almost at the same time and at the same frequency. The entire world was shaken. When everyone hurriedly fled to a safer place outside the house, they realized that the previous tremors had disappeared. The world returned to stability. However, the senior officials of various countries were collectively shocked. In China, a series of shocking news spread like wildfire. Shocking news. A huge meteorite landed in the north of our country. There are many ancient words engraved on the meteorite. According to the analysis of our experts, it seems to be an ancient Qi refinement technique. The Yangtze River in our country suddenly stopped flowing. Someone once witnessed an old dragon flying into the sky and speaking human language. According to the latest news from the observatory, 8 ancient stone tablets landed on Mars, and a female corpse floated from the moon. The stone tablet and the female corpse are heading for the border between our country and Myanmar. They should arrive within 10 days. P.S. That's all for the third chapter. It's a turning point in the plot. I wrote it slowly, please understand. Chapter 948. In the sky above Kunlun ruins, Dao sect. The moment Yi Chen severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy lock, he also felt a drastic change in heaven and earth. The spiritual energy had recovered, and essence energy was like a flood. The entire Kunlun ruins was completely enveloped in extremely dense spiritual energy, as if it had become a true paradise on earth. At that moment, countless people in the Kunlun ruins broke through one after another under the dense spiritual energy. For a moment, beams of powerful aura shot into the sky, followed by countless excited voices. Suddenly, specks of starlight sprinkled down from the sky. The starlight was like snow, filled with endless holy energy. The old saint of Purple Cap Mountain, Zi Qingsong, trembled slightly before he became extremely excited. Spiritual opportunity. This is spiritual opportunity. Spiritual opportunity has recovered under everyone's gaze. His old face turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even his white hair was no exception. In just a few breaths of time, his face had returned to that of a 14 or 15-year-old boy. Just from his appearance alone, he looked like an ancient study boy. At the next moment, he took a step forward and disappeared into the void. An extremely dignified voice followed. From today onwards, Purple Cap Mountain will be sealed for 3 days. Another few figures fled. Star Sect will be sealed for 3 days. Spirit Talisman Sect will be sealed for 3 days. Almost at that moment, many of the forces present left in a hurry. At the same time, they spread the news that they would be sealed for 3 months. Clearly, even they benefited from Yi Chen breaking the heaven and earth spiritual energy lock. Therefore, they could not wait to go into closed-door cultivation. Peak Master. The new sect master of the Corpse Sect, the sect master of the Witchcraft Sect, Elder Qing Xian of the Ninth Peak, and the people from the 7 ancient clans looked at Yi Chen. You guys can go too. How could Yi Chen not know what they were thinking? He nodded slightly under everyone's expectant gazes. After everyone had left, Chen Xiaobei's expression darkened. Something happened again. Streams of spiritual energy that were so condensed that they looked like they were solid gathered from all directions like dragons. They entered Yi Chen's body in an extremely crazy manner. From afar, dragon shadows were rolling all over Yi Chen's body at that moment. There was a faint dragon roar that filled the sky, and it was filled with supreme dignity. If the people who left earlier saw this scene, they would definitely vomit blood from jealousy. Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, a gleam flashed through his eyes. Is this the reward from the 9 dragon veins? Everything in the world was about karma. Yi Chen had saved the 9 dragon veins. Somehow, they had given Yi Chen a large amount of heaven and earth spiritual qi. Yi Chen heaved a sigh of relief. There's so much spiritual energy. As long as I spend some time refining it, it'll be enough for me to recover to nascent soul. Master, the heaven and earth spiritual qi is so dense. I have a feeling that I can use the heaven and earth spiritual qi to recover a little. Night Demon said with slight excitement. Yi Wushuang said slowly, me too. At that moment, Yi Chen no longer hesitated. With a flash, he arrived at the 9th peak. He lifted his hand to set up a barrier and officially went into closed-door cultivation. After everyone had left, Ying was the only one left in the same place. His expression was as calm as ever. It could be said that the secular world and the Kunlun ruins had benefited as Yi Chen severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal. However, he was the only one who gained nothing. Because he was a zombie, the sinful body of the first emperor, he was abandoned by the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and man. He was immortal, and the so-called saint's spiritual opportunity had no effect on him at all. At this moment, 4 figures with monstrous corpse energy landed beside him. The 4 drought demons knelt on one knee, completely loyal. Ing took a deep look in the direction of the 9th peak, and a strange arc flashed through the depths of his dignified eyes. "Let's go." As he said that, the bone wings on his body flapped and flew. Like a primordial ferocious beast, he led the 4 drought demons and the 3,000 bronze-armored corpses through the gate of heaven that led to the secular world from the Kunlun ruins. At the same time, a faint voice sounded, "Go to the spring platform and gather the old troops. Kill Yama." The entire Kunlun ruins fell into silence. On the second day of Yi Chen's closed-door cultivation, the silence was finally broken. Terrifying auras soared into the sky from every corner of the Kunlun ruins. "Ha ha ha, I've broken through. I've become an Emperor stage powerhouse." A Martial Venerable who was a Martial Venerable before was extremely excited. "I've also become a Supreme Giant." On the second day, the commotion was even greater. One after another, people broke through under the dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Many small sects became second-rate sects in one fell swoop, and second-rate sects became existences that were comparable to supreme sections. Even the 9th peak was no exception to this commotion. The 9th peak had gained more than 10 supreme giants, and Elder Qin Xian himself had stepped into the creation stage. The Kunlun ruins had gained another quasi-saint. At that moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the 9th peak and Purple Cap Mountain, because Ziqing Tsang and Yi Chen had chosen to go into closed-door cultivation. Everyone was looking forward to how the 2 most powerful combatants of the Kunlun ruins would increase their combat strength. In the early hours of the 3rd day, a phenomenon suddenly appeared on Purple Cap Mountain. Suddenly, a strange phenomenon appeared on Purple Cap Mountain. A purple Qilin stepped on colorful clouds and emitted a holy light that illuminated the world. At the same time, everyone in the Kunlun ruins could vaguely sense it. It was a mysterious feeling, as if someone had obtained the acknowledgement of heaven and earth. "Congratulations to the old saint for officially becoming a saint." A mighty figure looked at Purple Cap Mountain from afar, and his expression changed drastically. Then, he took a deep breath in and cupped his fists at Purple Cap Mountain from afar. "Congratulations to the old saint for officially becoming a saint." In every corner of the Kunlun ruins, countless martial artists bowed and cupped their fists at Purple Cap Mountain, their expressions filled with respect. Ziqing Tsang had finally broken through. He had become the first saint after the Great Calamity, and he was also the only saint in the Kunlun ruins in the past few hundred years. On the 9th peak, a bolt of purple lightning streaked across the sky and landed on a cave abode on the 9th peak. The bolt of purple lightning had a diameter of 30 meters. In the face of such a destructive aura, Elder Qin Xian and the others fell into endless despair. A sword gleam suddenly shot out from Yi Wushuang's cave abode. The gentle sword strike actually forcefully destroyed the bolt of purple lightning. Then, a clanging sword chi soared into the sky. Under everyone's gaze, it transformed into a young man who was only 17 or 18 years old, dressed in white. Everyone realized that the young man's gaze was as deep as the ocean at this moment. His black hair had already turned silver, and it poured down like a silver river, dazzling. Quasi-saint. Elder Qin Xian and the rest were dumbfounded. Then, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Wushuang has also stepped into the quasi-saint stage. Such a young quasi-saint. Not to mention the Kunlun ruins, even during the pre-Qin dynasty, when all the saints rose, no one had ever stepped into the quasi-saint stage at such a young age. I wonder how Big Brother is doing. Yi Wushuang looked at the cave abode where Yi Chen was from afar. There was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. At the next moment, his gaze suddenly turned cold. He recommended the urban guru Shi Xinshu. Chapter 949. Subsequently, Yi Wushuang's figure flashed and he disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he had already landed outside the 9th peak. At this moment, figures with powerful auras would occasionally flash over from afar outside the ninth peak. These people were all from the other forces in the Kunlun ruins. The highest cultivation base was a quasi-saint, and there were as many as 7 to 8 of them. Most of them were the masters of various forces. Sensing the quasi-saint aura and strong sword intent from Yi Wushuang's body, countless people could not help but have a change in expression. This brat actually broke through 2 levels consecutively and stepped into the quasi-saint stage. How monstrous! How monstrous! Many supreme beings were shocked and almost didn't dare to believe it. At the next moment, Elder Qing Xian, who had stepped into the quasi-saint stage, also appeared in the air and said expressionlessly, "Everyone, you've joined forces to come to my ninth peak. Could it be that you want to rebel because you've broken through? Fellow Wushuang, fellow Qing Xian, please don't misunderstand. The new sect master of the Star Sect, Taoist priest Dubhe, took a step forward and cupped his fists. We're not here with any enmity today. Thank Peak Master." Elder Qing Xian was slightly stunned. What do you mean? The quasi-saint of the Spirit Talisman sect cupped his fists and said, "The reason why our Kunlun ruins was able to undergo such a huge change this time is all thanks to Immortal Yi breaking the heaven and earth spiritual energy lock. Therefore, we're here to express our gratitude." That's right. Another quasi-saint said, "Immortal Yi has given our Kunlun ruins a new lease on life. If anyone dares to become enemies with Immortal Yi, we'll definitely not let them off." At that moment, many of the powerhouses present expressed their goodwill. Even though Yi Chen had killed many of their people earlier, it was insignificant compared to the benefits Yi Chen had brought them. You're right. If anyone dares to become enemies with Brother Yi, Tianya won't let them off. Right at that moment, an extremely overbearing voice exploded in the air. Under everyone's gazes, Luo Tianya, who was dressed in purple, walked over with his hands behind his back. Even though he did not reveal his aura, everyone could still feel a trace of pressure. This brat has also become a quasi-saint? Many gazes were filled with shock, and some of the older generation sighed with emotion. Sure enough, the new generation excels the old. Before they could react, another figure appeared in the void. "I say, lunatic Luo, you run really fast. Why didn't you wait for me?" The panting person was none other than Tang Yiming. However, he was only at the peak of a supreme giant. Behind him, Luo Shuiyao appeared. At this moment, she had also entered the peak of the supreme giant realm. Seeing that no one had any ill intentions, Yi Wushuang's cold gaze softened. Elder Qing Xian smiled faintly. "Everyone, the Peak Master is still in closed-door cultivation. Come back in a few days." Fellow Taoist Qing Xian, you don't have to be so polite. Since Immortal Yi is still in isolation, we won't disturb him. We'll just wait outside the 9th summit. That's right, we will personally protect Immortal Yi. Elder Qing Xian and the rest, as well as Yi Wushuang, could not reject everyone's enthusiasm. They could only let everyone wait outside. Almost everyone's eyes landed on Yi Chen's cave abode in the 9th summit. However, on the 3rd day, when the spiritual energy between heaven and earth weakened, there was still no movement from Yi Chen's cave abode. The 4th day, the 5th day, the 6th day, on the 10th day, just when everyone was about to return, a faint pressure spread out from Yi Chen's cave abode. The pressure was not strong at first, but it attracted everyone's attention. Immortal Yi broke through too? A quasi-saint frowned slightly. But isn't the commotion a little too small? Could it be that he didn't break through much? At the next moment, the faint pressure seemed to have been nourished by something. It suddenly exploded and became more and more intense. In the end, it was like a heavenly river had burst its banks, forming an extremely terrifying torrent that swept through the entire Kunlun ruins. The sky changed color, and the wind and clouds surged. Pu. At this moment, countless people were unable to control their bodies and knelt on the ground under such pressure. Even the few quasi-saints were suppressed by the pressure to the point that their bones cracked. What a powerful pressure! Many quasi-saints looked at each other, and they were shocked. Could it be that immortal Yi has also stepped into the saint stage? No. A quasi-saint resisted the pressure with great difficulty as he shook his head and said, "Even the old saint of Purple Cap Mountain was not as terrifying as this on the day he was promoted to a saint." Everyone was shocked when they heard that. In the end, even the saint, Zi Qingsong, was alarmed. He flashed and appeared outside the 9th summit. He looked at the cave abode where Yi Chen was in reverence. Fortunately, the pressure did not last long. It gradually dissipated, and peace returned to the world. In Yi Chen's cave abode on the 9th summit, Yi Chen sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. However, there was a tall, miniature baby on top of his head. The baby looked 90% similar to Yi Chen, but he was slightly more handsome than Yi Chen. He had red lips and white teeth. It would not be an exaggeration to describe him as handsome as a god. After the baby played for a while, he jumped and entered Yi Chen's head, becoming one with him. On the other hand, Yi Chen, who was motionless, moved slightly. He then opened his eyes slowly and his face changed. In the end, he looked exactly like the baby from before. His skin was snow-white, and his limbs were crystal clear. Although he still had the same face, his facial features were no longer as ordinary as before. Even a peerless beauty would be jealous. The Emperor Brush and the Night Demon Armor congratulated him. "Congratulations on recovering to the nascent soul stage, Master. You are one step closer to the soul formation stage. You two aren't bad either. Your spirit bodies are more stable than before." Yi Chen took a good look at the two of them and a smile appeared on his face. During this closed-door cultivation, he had refined all the spiritual energy that the 9 dragon veins had given him. Although it took some time, he had successfully recovered to nascent soul. Of course, Night Demon Armor chuckled. The Patriarch of Hell was only at foundation building previously. When we return this time, I'll make him call me Daddy. The Patriarch? Yi Chen could not help but laugh. He then shook his head and said, "Don't underestimate the Patriarch. The Patriarch's cultivation method is rather special. Moreover, I taught him a method before I left. He might have caught up to me by now." "Who is the Patriarch of Hell?" Emperor Brush's artifact spirit was puzzled. Night Demon Armor said with a smile, "He's also a weirdo. Old Cunning Brush, you'll know when you meet him." Yi Chen said, "How long have I been in closed-door cultivation this time?" 10 days. Emperor Brush said. 10 days? Yi Chen stroked his chin lightly and smiled lightly. "I've been out for some time. It's time to go back." Chapter 950. Greetings, Immortal Yi. When Yi Chen walked out of the cave abode, the powerhouses who had been waiting outside the 9th peak bowed and cupped their fists. The voice was extremely orderly and powerful. It shook the sky and spread to every corner of the Kunlun ruins. Everyone said it from the bottom of their hearts. Before Yi Chen severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal, the relationship between the Kunlun ruins and him was cold. However, after the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal was severed, everyone in the entire Kunlun ruins benefited from Yi Chen. In the crowd, Luo Shuiyao looked at Yi Chen, who was carrying Meng Meng in a daze. She opened her red lips softly. "Why do I feel that this guy has suddenly become handsome? It's not like he has." "He has indeed become handsome," Luo Tianya said enviously. Before this, although Yi Chen was more powerful than him, he was confident that he was at least more handsome than Yi Chen. However, he suddenly realized that he had no confidence in front of Yi Chen now. He could not compare to him in terms of ability, nor could he compare to him in terms of face. Luo Shuiyao suddenly pinched Luo Tianyao. It's over. Brother, I'm going to die." "Are you all right?" Luo Tianyao was a little nervous. "Are you feeling unwell?" "I suspect I've fallen for that guy. My heart has been captured by him. My Luo Tianyao was speechless. Meanwhile, Yi Chen was carrying his daughter in the distance. He glanced at the powerhouses before him calmly and waved, "Everyone, please rise." Instantly, everyone realized that there was an irresistible force. Under this force, they stood up uncontrollably. A quasi-saint tried to resist, but he spat a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale, and it was obvious that his mind was injured. Taking advantage of the presence of so many people today, I'd like to announce two things to everyone. Yi Chen stared at everyone and said calmly, "Firstly, I heard that the great calamity 500 years ago seemed to be related to the enemy from the outer realm." As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. What? The enemy from the outer realm? Countless people were shocked. Ziqing Song stepped forward and said, "Immortal Yi, may I know what kind of existence the enemy from the outer realm is? I believe all of you know that although Earth is big, it is only a drop in the ocean among the millions of worlds." Yi Chen said slowly, "Meanwhile, in the galaxies that we don't know about, there are giants who can lift mountains and pick up the moon, giant beasts who have stars above their heads, and ancient gods who can trample heaven and earth. They are 1,000 times, 10,000 times more powerful than us." The world was completely silent. Everyone was stunned by Yi Chen's words, especially those who had just broken through and were proud of themselves. Their hearts were left with only coldness. A powerhouse said in a trembling voice, "Exalted deity Yi, if that's the case, doesn't that mean that these enemies from the outer realms will come to Earth one day? Not bad. Although I V broken the heaven and earth spirit chi lock this time, it S equivalent to exposing Earth to the universe. After all, Earth with its spirit chi awakening is too tempting." Yi Chen nodded lightly. "Let's take 10,000 steps back. Even if I don't sever the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal, can you guarantee that the enemies from the outer realm won't come?" No one answered. Therefore, the recovery of spiritual energy is a good thing for everyone. This is the era where Earth repeats the rise of the pre-Qin saints. Yi Chen said, "Instead of leaving your lives to fate, it S better to hold it in your own hands. Therefore, I hope that you guys won't be like before, only focusing on killing each other." At this point, he looked at Yi Wushuang beside him and smiled. "The reason why I entered the Kunlun ruins was to destroy the 5 ancient clans and look for my brother. Now that there are results, I'm about to leave the Kunlun ruins." Peak Master is leaving the Kunlun ruins? The expressions of Elder Qin Xian and the rest changed slightly. They were reluctant. "That's right. At the end of the day, I'm not from the Kunlun ruins. The secular world is my home." Yi Chen chuckled softly. "Don't think that you dare to stir up trouble or enter the world to wreak havoc just because I'm not around. Otherwise, I'll definitely come back with my sword again." We wouldn't dare." Everyone felt a chill run down their spines and shook their heads immediately. Although Yi Chen's tone was calm, everyone still felt a chill run down their spines. Luo Shuiyao, who was in the crowd, panicked when she saw that Yi Chen was leaving. She could not stop pinching Luo Tianya's arm. Luo Tianya smiled bitterly. He could only step forward and cough. He said with a smile, "Brother Yi, can I go to the secular world with you?" Yi Chen glanced at him in confusion. He nodded when he saw Luo Shuiyao blushing next to him. In the southeast corner of the Kunlun ruins, a dazzling crack appeared in the air. It was the heavenly gate that led to the secular world. Yi Chen looked at Elder Qin Xian and said, "You'll be in charge of the 9th peak when I'm not around. Remember to restrain your disciples and not act willfully." Elder Qin Xian nodded repeatedly. On the other side, Hua Ling, his junior sister, pulled Yi Wushuang. Her beautiful eyes were slightly red, as if she had just cried. The rest looked at Yi Wushuang with reluctance. "Wushuang, let's go." Yi Chen glanced at Yi Wushuang, who was like a block of wood, and shook his head helplessly. Then, he carried his daughter and led Yi Wushuang and the rest into the heavenly gate. Only Hua Ling and the rest were left with reluctance on their faces. In a remote corner of Kunlun Mountain, which was known as the No. 1 ancestral mountain in China, a crack was suddenly torn open. When the crack gradually grew larger and finally stabilized, a skinny figure slowly walked out from it. The air in the secular world is still the best. Yi Chen carried his daughter as he looked at the sky with his pitch-black eyes. There was a smile on his face. Behind him, several figures flew over one after another. They were Yi Wushuang, Luo Tianyao, and Luo Shuiyao. The night demon armor's teasing voice was heard. "Master, guess where the patriarch is now?" Yi Chen was stunned. Then, he smiled lightly. With the patriarch's personality, he might be in Japan and harming the women there. At the next moment, his gaze paused, as expected. After I severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal, the spiritual energy recovery on earth is not inferior to the Kunlun ruins. Then, his gaze started to land on his surroundings. What entered his eyes was a scene of devastation, as if there were traces of battle. There was a pungent smell of blood in the forest. Why would there be such a tragic battle on Kunlun Mountain? I remember there were no such changes before I went to the Kunlun ruins. Yi Chen's expression gradually turned grim. He took a step forward and leaped 3,000 meters away. Subsequently, he saw many corpses on the ground. There was even a giant elephant corpse that was 30 meters tall. "Brother Yi, something seems to have happened on Earth." Even Luo Tianya noticed that something was wrong. At that moment, Yi Chen lifted his eyes abruptly and looked into the distance. He saw a man and a woman running over in a sorry state. One of them seemed to be an old friend. Chapter 951. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A man and a woman ran through the forest at high speed. Wherever they passed, they left countless fallen leaves and blood on the ground. Plop! The woman fell heavily to the ground. Her face was extremely pale, and there was an egg-sized wound on her abdomen. Blood was spurting out. The man's expression changed immediately, and he hurriedly helped her up. "Junru, are you all right?" If one took a closer look, they would realize that the man was a young man. However, his left arm was broken, as if it had been bitten off by something. It was Li Ziwei, a member of the Dragon Soul sect. When Yo Qingshan was severely injured by Guan Shanyue, he and Li Ying came to ask Yi Chen to save him. "Ziwei, don't worry about me. Let's go, or everyone will die." The woman turned around and urged weakly. "No, let's go together." Li Ziwei panted heavily, his eyes bloodshot. "Otherwise, we'll all die together. I, Li Ziwei, am not someone who abandons his teammates." Roar! At that moment, a beast roar suddenly came from the forest, and the ground began to shake. "Oh no, that beast is catching up." Li Ziwei and the woman's expressions changed. Under the horrified gazes of the two of them, they saw a behemoth that was close to 3 zhang in size, like a building, madly rushing toward them. It was a wolf with jet-black fur, and its eyes were like flapping ghost flames. It was breathtaking. Its speed was very fast, and it crossed over 30 meters with a single step. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Li Ziwei and the woman, looking down at them. "Beast, I'll fight you to the death!" Li Ziwei roared angrily. Then, he forcefully endured his injuries and charged at the giant wolf with a crazed expression. Faced with this scene, the giant wolf's eyes flashed. Then, it opened its bloody mouth, clearly wanting to swallow Li Ziwei in one gulp. "Ziwei!" The woman's eyes were filled with despair. However, at that moment, a faint voice came from the void. "As a member of the Dragon Soul sect, you have a mission. How dare you underestimate your own life?" The woman was stunned. Li Ziwei stopped in his tracks and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a thin figure walking over slowly from afar. At the same time, the giant wolf seemed to have felt some kind of fear, and without saying anything, it turned around and was about to run. "Goldie, don't let it run away." Following the voice of a young girl, an eagle's cry suddenly rang out in the sky. Then, a giant eagle nearly 30 meters in size descended from the sky. Under the horrified gazes of Li Ziwei and the others, the giant eagle waved its claws and tore the giant wolf into pieces. It was the golden flame spirit eagle. At this moment it had also stepped into the martial exalted realm. Mr. Yi. Li Ziwei widened his eyes and looked at Yi Chen in disbelief. Then, he stammered, "Why, you're not dead?" The lady, on the other hand, looked at Yi Chen in confusion. Yi Chen waved his hand and a stream of spiritual energy shot into his body, healing all of his injuries. He then said, "Why do you think I'm dead?" Plop. Li Ziwei knelt heavily on the ground and said excitedly, "Mr. Yi, you disappeared after killing the powerhouses of Shang Santian. It's been 10 months. The outside world says that you're dead." 10 months? Yi Chen frowned. "It's been 10 days at most since I went to the Kunlun ruins. Why did it become 10 months? It's indeed 10 months. Li Ziwei said with absolute certainty. Just 10 months ago, the earth underwent a drastic change and the spirit qi recovered. When humans became powerful, many animals and plants also mutated and became aggressive. The giant wolf that attacked us just now was just an ordinary wolf before this. You're saying that the Earth's spiritual energy has recovered for 10 months? Yi Chen glanced at Yi Wushuang, Luo Tianya, and the rest subconsciously after asking that. He had clearly severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal in the Kunlun ruins 10 days ago, so why had 10 months passed in the secular world? At this moment, even the lady could not help but speak. It has indeed been 10 months since the upheaval on Earth. Yi Chen frowned as his eyes flickered. Subsequently, he seemed to have thought of something. I understand now. The Kunlun ruins is another small world after all. After I severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal, the timeline of the Kunlun ruins no longer coincides with Earth. From what Li Ziwei said, 1 day in the Kunlun ruins is equivalent to 1 month in the secular world. After I severed the heaven and earth spiritual energy seal, I went into closed-door cultivation for 10 days. Exactly 10 months have passed on Earth. A look of realization appeared in his eyes. Yi Chen waved his sleeve as he thought to this point. He said after bringing the two of them to a safe place, "Tell me about the changes on Earth while I was away." Mr. Yi, actually, we don't understand why such a change happened either. Li Ziwei slowly told him about the changes on Earth in the past 10 months. Yi Chen was speechless after hearing that. After the Earth's spiritual energy recovered, humans' physique was strengthened. Their cultivation talent increased, and at the same time, animals and plants mutated. Originally, in the eyes of humans, a docile animal like a rabbit would grow in size after absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It would be able to tear apart tigers and leopards. Meanwhile, a 10-year-old ginseng could instantly turn into a 100-year-old ginseng with incomparable medicinal properties. The world changed as well. The continents changed, the seas flowed backward, and many continents and oceans appeared out of thin air. Many ancient lands and civilizations that had disappeared also appeared one after another. In the Middle East, there was even a small country that was destroyed by a mutated berserk beast. Therefore, countries around the world abandoned their past prejudices and grudges and formed an alliance army to fight against these mutated beasts. Some small cultivation families also took advantage of this change to become first-rate families in one fell swoop, controlling a province. All sorts of consortiums, biotechnology companies, and human research organizations appeared one after another. These consortiums paid to research all sorts of gene reagents and nurtured countless super warriors. Their battle prowess was comparable to an emperor's stage cultivator. By the way, Mr. Yi, 10 months ago, on the night of the upheaval on Earth, someone broke into the mausoleum of the Li Mountain. Li Ziwei suddenly said. Yi Chen raised his brows. The mausoleum of the Li Mountain? Yes, that person is very powerful. We used all sorts of advanced equipment, but we couldn't find any trace of him. Li Ziwei said with a grim expression, That night, 5,000 terracotta soldiers disappeared mysteriously. It seemed like it was caused by Ying. Yi Chen's eyes flickered. How are my friends in Tianan now? That was what he was most concerned about. Everything is fine in Tianan, Li Ziwei said. After you were gone, your cousin, Yi Wen, and a few women took charge of everything. After the spiritual energy on Earth recovered, the Star Group was the first to develop many medicinal pills to strengthen the human body. They were known as one of the 6 major consortiums in China. At this point, he seemed to have thought of something and added, "The Star Group rose too quickly, and the outside world thought that you were dead. Therefore, the other 5 consortiums joined forces to deal with the Star Group and sent countless powerhouses." And then? Yi Chen said. Li Ziwei gulped and said, "In the end, these people were all suppressed by a person called the Patriarch of Hell. The Patriarch of Hell then forcefully barged into the 5 consortiums and plundered them." He glanced at Yi Chen with a strange expression. "He even stole a few women along the way. He said that he stole them for you." Yi Chen did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard that. As expected of the Patriarch. "Oh right," Li Ziwei said again. "Last month, a miraculous medicine appeared on Mount Tai. Many consortiums and forces went there. Even the Star Group sent people there." He shook his head and said, "However, the Star Group seems to have suffered a loss. It's said that an ancient almighty appeared on Mount Tai and heavily injured the Patriarch of Hell. Now it's unknown whether he's dead or alive. P.S. Sorry for making everyone wait. Please give me tickets." Chapter 952. After Yi Chen learned about the changes on Earth from Li Ziwei, he left behind some medicinal pills and rushed to Tianan. Yi Wushuang and Luo Tianya followed closely behind. The few of them teleported. Along the way they saw too many tragic scenes, so they were not in a good mood. After the spiritual energy recovery, the world changed drastically. The beast horde erupted, and the order of the human world was in chaos. Countless people's families were destroyed, and their families were separated. Some died in the mouths of ferocious beasts, while others died under the blades of their own people. Countless refugees hugged each other and cried. There were also some provinces that built defensive fortresses to protect the cold soldiers in the world and held on bitterly. There were also loyal and brave people who were not afraid of death. They resolutely fought the ferocious beasts to carve out a new world for humans. Along the way, Yi Chen would help these people resolve the crisis whenever he saw them. Even so, he still underestimated the negative effects of the spiritual energy recovery. Ordinary people who awakened in the Great Change could live the best lives, but the ones who suffered were always the people at the bottom. Tianan, Lin City. Tianan had also changed drastically. The 3 provinces had long been merged. As Tianan had many mountains and dense forests, the beast horde outbreak was the most serious in the 10 months of the spiritual energy recovery. Tianan was the first to react. Relying on the old team that Yi Chen had left behind, Tianan managed to repel the beast horde and even accepted refugees. As a result, Tianan was deeply popular in China. Almost every day, people would head to Tianan, hoping to obtain protection or learn from a master. Lin City had now become the most prosperous economic center in the entire Tianan. The entire city had expanded by more than 5 times, and it was divided into 3 regions. The Star Group was located in the core of Lin City. It's changed. Yi Chen carried his daughter and walked on the streets outside Lin City. He looked at everything around him with a sigh. He felt like the world had changed. Lin City. It was the place where he was born and the place where he grew up. Originally, he was extremely familiar with everything here. However, what he saw now was unfamiliar. In just a short 10 months, Forest City had undergone such a huge change, to the point that he was practically unable to recognize it. Seemingly sensing his gloomy mood, Luo Tianya and his sister did not disturb him. The little girl curled up in his arms and looked around timidly. "Daddy, where is our home?" I can't even recognize them. Just as he was about to speak, an extremely enthusiastic voice suddenly came from behind him. Handsome, are you guys also here to seek survival in Forest City? Yi Chen turned his head to look and saw a man and a lady walking toward him. The leader was a young lady in her early 20s. The man behind her had a simple and honest face, and his facial features were similar to hers. They seemed to be brother and sister. Yi Chen looked at Yi Wushuang and Luo Tianya behind him by instinct. He said in disbelief, "May I ask if you're talking to me?" "Of course." The young girl smiled and said shyly, "Handsome, you are so handsome, she must be calling you." Handsome, Yi Chen was not used to being called that at the moment. After all, before he recovered to the nascent soul stage, he was not even close to being handsome. "By the way, my name is Chen Rongrong, and this is my brother Chen Zhong." While he was in a daze, he heard the woman say in an extremely familiar manner, "What are your names?" The young man named Chen Zhong smiled kindly at him. Yi Chen smiled lightly. "Yi Chen, so it's Brother Yi." Chen Rongrong smiled mischievously and said, "Brother Yi, are you guys here to survive in Lin City too?" "Survive?" Yi Chen did not understand. As if sensing his confusion, Chen Zhong took the initiative to explain, "Brother Yi, you might not know this, but we siblings are from Minnan. We came to Lin City to make a living." "Brother Chen, if I remember correctly, Minnan is a coastal city. It's almost comparable to Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou in China." Yi Chen frowned and said, "If that's the case, why did you guys come to Lin City to make a living?" The moment that was said, Chen Zhong and Chen Rongrong looked at him strangely. In the end, Chen Zhong said, "Brother Yi, you're right. Before the upheaval, Minnan did surpass Lin City." At this point, he could not help but smile bitterly. However, ever since the upheaval, the coastal cities have been the most miserable. Because they're close to the sea, many sea beasts have mutated and constantly attacked and harassed our coastal cities. Yi Chen came to a realization when he heard that. Even the animals and plants on land had mutated, let alone the sea creatures. Moreover, the species of sea creatures were more abundant than on land. Therefore, everyone fled to the mainland to seek refuge. Chen Zhong continued, "The two of us are no exception. We thought that Tianan isn't far from Minnan, and it's relatively safe, so we came. With Brother Chen's conditions, it's easy for you to survive in Tianan. You don't have to worry," Yi Chen smiled lightly. He could feel a trace of spiritual energy in Chen Zhong's body. It must be that after the spiritual energy recovery, his physical fitness had been awakened. "It's not that easy." Unexpectedly, Chen Zhong sighed softly. "Brother Yi, do you know how many people there are in Tianan now? How much is the price per square meter?" Just as Yi Chen was about to speak, he heard him say, "There are more than 100 million people in Tianan now. 40 million of them are gathered in Lin City. The price of the outermost area of Lin City has risen to 80,000 yuan per square meter." As soon as he finished speaking, even Yi Chen was shocked. Before he left, there were less than 10 million people in Lin City, and the lowest price was only 5,000 to 6,000 yuan. He did not expect it to increase by so many times. With such a high price, even if he earned 100,000 yuan a month, he could only afford 1 square meter. It was even more expensive than gold. For example, the two of us don't even dare to think about buying a house in Lin City. We can only go to the Mutant Society to test our cultivation talent. Chen Rongrong said with a sullen face, "Let's see if anyone takes a liking to us and gives us food. Since Brother Yi came to Lin City to make a living, why didn't you know about this beforehand?" Chen Zhong looked at him in confusion. Yi Chen smiled lightly, "No, I'm a local of Lin City." This time, Chen Zhong and his sister were completely shocked. "What? Brother Yi actually has a local residence in Lin City?" At this moment, there was a commotion in the distance. Then, a Ferrari charged through the streets, not knowing how to avoid the pedestrians on the road. Get lost, we won't be responsible if you die. In the Ferrari, a young man in a suit was chewing gum and laughing as he drove. Be careful. Yi Chen pulled Chen Zhong and Chen Rongrong to the side of the road while the Ferrari brushed past them. Big brother, I'll go capture him. Yi Wushuang walked over and said with a cold gaze. Only then did Chen Rongrong notice him. For a moment she was stunned. Then, she suddenly said, Don't go. Even Chen Zhong's expression changed as he said fearfully, That's right, brother Yi, you can't afford to offend this person. Chapter 953. Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, he said with a forced smile, I can't afford to offend him? He could even suppress the entire Kunlun ruins, so how could he not afford to offend someone from the secular world? Most importantly, he was the master of Tiannan. Seeing his reaction, Chen Zhong could not help but say, Brother Yi, not only can you not afford to offend this person, even the defense chief of Lin City can't afford to offend him. Yi Chen gave a short response and said in surprise, He has a powerful background in Tiannan? Is he the son of some tycoon? Or the descendant of some high-ranking official? No. Chen Zhong said, This person's name is Luopeng. He's nothing much, but his brother is one of the 4 mutant kings of Tiannan, Azure Dragon. Mutant. Yi Chen had learned from Li Ziwei that after the spiritual energy recovery, people who awakened their cultivation talent were called mutants. A powerful mutant was not weaker than an ancient martial artist. He could not help but ask, Who is Azure Dragon? Brother Yi, to be honest, I really wonder if you're a local of Lin City, or if you're from a very remote place. Chen Zhong looked at him deeply and said patiently, After the spiritual energy recovery, some people awakened as mutants, and mutants are divided into 9 levels. I'm only a level 3 mutant. At this point, he could not help but say, There are naturally many mutants in Tiannan. Among them, there are 4 mutants who are the most powerful. They are Azure Dragon, Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, and White Tiger. My brother is right. Chen Rongrong interrupted. These 4 are known as the 4 mutant kings of Tiannan. They've killed many powerful ferocious beasts at the front line. These 4 people were nurtured by Star Group with countless resources. They're known as the 4 great generals under Star Group. Chen Zhong sighed softly. Therefore, their status in Tiannan is supreme, second only to the Patriarch of Hell. Just when Yi Chen was about to speak, he saw Chen Rongrong take a deep breath in and say, Brother, you missed someone. There's actually another legendary figure in Tiannan. She clasped her hands tightly together and said with incomparable respect, This person is known as the Master of Tiannan, the #1 in China and the #1 in Southeast Asia. Are you talking about Mad Southern Yi? Chen Zhong also reacted and said with admiration, Mad Southern Yi is indeed a legend in China, but I heard that he has been missing for 10 months. Some people say that he's dead. After the 2 of them were done talking, they turned around again, but they realized that Yi Chen and the rest were gone. Where's Brother Yi, the core of Lin City, the headquarters of Star Group? The current Star Group was no longer what it used to be. With the wealth that Yi Chen had accumulated in the past, they took the lead in researching human cultivation after the spiritual energy recovery. Within a short span of 10 months, it had risen to become one of the 6 largest financial magnates in the country. It even controlled the 3 large Tiannan provinces, looking down on the world like a colossus. In order to resist the beast horde and protect China, Star Group even cooperated with the government to form an alliance army. For example, Old Man Gu, the former Yan Nanfei, Han Qinhu, and other elders of the older generation went to the front lines to fight against the beast tide. On the 9th floor of Star Group's headquarters. What? Did the beast tide from the east reinforce them? Send out the Apocalypse #1 drone group to bombard the mountain range where the beast tide is. Cooperate with General Yen and the rest. We must intercept them. Pass down my order. Order the eastern battlefront. all the mutants under the command of Star Group to participate in the battle. At this moment we must sacrifice ourselves to serve our country. Those who dare to retreat will be killed without mercy. At that moment, 4 women were sitting together. They were analyzing the battle situation on the huge satellite navigator while issuing orders at the same time. If Yi Chen was there, he would definitely realize that the 4 women were Yi Wen, Xiaoya, Tang Ning, Yu Shasha, and the rest. However, the 4 women's temperament had changed drastically. As the main members who controlled Star Group, the 4 women were no longer as weak as before. There was a hint of flexibility and aura on their bodies, as if they were otherworldly. No one dared to look at them directly. After finishing all of this with great difficulty, Yi Wen, who was in the middle, stood up. She walked to the side and pressed a switch on the wall. Immediately, a morning hall popped up. In the morning hall stood the memorial tablets of Yi Ming, Yang Hui, Lin Tai, Niu Qingshan, Chen Tulong, and the rest. However, the memorial tablet in the middle did not have a name. Yi Chen lit a few incense sticks and bowed to the memorial tablet. He then inserted the incense sticks into the incense burner and swept his gaze past Yi Ming, Yang Hui, and the rest's memorial tablets. Her gaze landed on the nameless memorial tablet. She bit her lip and said softly, "Brother, are you really dead? If you're fine, why hasn't there been any news after 10 months? I'm so tired." As she murmured, a stream of tears slowly fell from the corner of Yi Wen's eyes. This woman had grown from unruly and willful to strong and reserved. It was as if she had been reborn. No one knew what kind of pain she had experienced after her parents' death. No one knew how much effort she had put in to take charge of Star Group after Yi Chen was gone. 1-1. At that moment, Tang Ning and the other 2 women walked over. Their gazes were extremely complicated as they stared at the nameless memorial tablet for a few seconds. Then, the 3 women hugged Yi Wen tightly. Yu Shasha choked and said, "Sister Wen, Brother Yi is definitely not dead. You have to believe that." "That's right. Master will be fine. Let's hold on a little longer. He'll return one day," Xiaoya comforted. Such a scene had happened countless times. Every time, it was the 4 women who comforted and encouraged each other that allowed Star Group to come this far. "Thank you." Yi Wen wiped her tears and forced a smile. "You're right. My brother is definitely not dead. I have to protect Star Group for him and sister-in-law." At that moment, the alarm in the building suddenly rang, accompanied by a series of screams. The 4 women's expressions changed. What happened? At the next moment, a guard in Star Group's uniform stumbled in. "B. Director Yi, the 4 mutant kings have rebelled." They brought their men in as his voice fell. The technology door on the 9th floor was forcefully broken open from the outside. Then, a young man wearing an azure dragon robe walked in slowly. Behind him were 2 men and a woman, as well as countless guards wearing Star Group's uniforms and holding guns. Black muzzles were pointed at Yi Wen and the rest. The sudden scene shocked Yi Wen and the other 3 women. They could not help but take a step back subconsciously. Yi Wen looked at the young man in the azure dragon robe with an extremely dignified gaze. "Azure Dragon, what are you trying to do?" "Director Yi." The young man called Azure Dragon smiled. "It's not easy for the 4 of you to support Star Group, so I want to share the burden with you." Xiaoya's beautiful eyes were cold. "You want to seize power?" Chapter 954. Star Group had developed to this day. Although Yi Chen was not around, the Patriarch of Hell was in charge, as well as Yan Nanfei and the other elders. Even though they had been targeted by the other 5 consortiums before, they were still able to resolve the problem. Therefore, Yi Wen and the rest did not expect that the greatest threat did not come from the outside world, but from their own people. "Seize power." Azure Dragon remained extremely gentle as he said, "Why do you have to make it sound so unpleasant, Director Xiao? We're all members of the Star Group, so naturally, whoever has the ability will have the final say. Moreover, Director Yi, you guys are women after all. As your subordinate, I'm very sad to see you guys wasting your youth for the star group. At this point, he sized up the four women's slender figures without hesitation, and a sinister glint flashed through his eyes. Be *starred. Tang Ning shouted coldly, Luo Peng, don't forget that it was our star group that nurtured you guys. Without us, you guys would have died in the beast horde long ago. Of course we remember Director Ye's kindness. A burly man took a step forward and said with a sinister smile, in return, the three of us have decided to marry Director Yi and the other three. In this way, wouldn't we be even closer? Azure Dragon and the other man laughed as well. In the entire Tianan, Yi Wen and the other three women could be considered peerless beauties. Almost no man could hold them in. You're shameless. Yi Wen's pretty face changed as she said coldly, aren't you guys afraid that the Patriarch and the rest will come back to settle the score by doing this today? She was a smart person. She knew that she could not anger the people in front of her at this time, so she tried to bring up the Patriarch of Hell. After all, the Patriarch of Hell's current status in the star group was comparable to a mythical existence. Moreover, even though the four of them had already stepped into foundation building, they had neglected their cultivation in order to manage the star group. Their combat strength was at most martial venerables. The four people in front of them were level 7 mutant kings. Any one of them was comparable to an emperor stage cultivator. How could they be a match for them? Of course we're afraid. Black Tortoise, one of the four mutant kings, chuckled. It's a pity that the Patriarch of Hell was suppressed by an ancient almighty on Mount Tai. Yen Nanfei and the rest were also transferred to the front line by you guys to cooperate with the government to stop the beast horde. He did not hide the greed in his eyes at all. Chairman Yi, it can be said that the four of you have no soldiers and no generals. Therefore, I advise you to accept reality. Our star group is truly blind to have nurtured four ingrates like you. Yushasha was so angry that her body trembled. Since we've shed all pretense of cordiality, Chairman Yi, I might as well tell you another secret. Azure Dragon said meaningfully, to tell you the truth, we've long since pledged our allegiance to the 5 major corporations. The suppression of the Yellow Spring Patriarch on Mount Tai is also related to the 5 major corporations. Even the Beast Horde in the east was a collaboration between the 5 consortiums and Old Demon Black Mountain. Their goal was to disperse Star Group's power. The Old Demon Black Mountain that he mentioned was a demon that had woken up from its slumber after the spiritual energy recovery in the eastern mountain range. It was also the one who ordered the Beast Horde to attack the human cities. Yi Wen and the rest were in complete despair. Xiao Ye said coldly, even though the Patriarch has been suppressed, don't forget that my master is 1,000 times more terrifying than the Patriarch. Once he comes... The expressions of Azure Dragon and the rest finally changed. They had heard of that man. The more powerful he was, the more they could understand how terrifying that man was back then. Mad Southern Yi has been missing for 10 months. He might have died long ago. Don't scare us with him. White Tiger smiled sinisterly. Moreover, after we take control of the Star Group, with the support of so many resources, we'll definitely break through to a higher realm. By then, even if Mad Southern Yi returns, he won't be our match. At the next moment, Yushasha suddenly took out a flying sword and slashed it at Azure Dragon. At the same time, she shouted, Sister Wenwen, I'll hold them back. You guys leave. She was originally a mortal, but under the guidance of the Patriarch of Hell, she also stepped onto the path of cultivation. Moreover, it only took her half a year to step into foundation building and refine her own flying sword. Hold us back. Facing the flying sword that was slashing at him, Azure Dragon smiled in disdain. Then, he reached out with his hand and forcefully shattered the flying sword. Director Yi, I advise you not to resist. Otherwise, it'll be bad if we hurt you. As they spoke, the 4 mutant kings approached the 4 women with disdain on their faces. Are we done? The 4 women's faces were filled with despair. A stream of tears fell from the corner of Yi Wen's eyes. Then, determination flashed through her eyes. She bit her lip and muttered, "Brother, I'm sorry. I can't wait for you anymore. I miss my parents, Sister Wenwen, don't." Amidst the sorrowful expressions of Yushasha and the rest, Yiwen raised her palm and slapped the top of her head. In the next moment, a gentle force suddenly surged out of thin air and forcefully stopped Yi Wen's hand that was about to slap down. A slightly pained voice was heard faintly, "Silly girl, how can I face second uncle and second aunt if you die?" Yi Wen was stunned. Xiao Ye and the rest were stunned as well. The voice was too familiar. Only one of the 4 mutant kings, Azure Dragon, had a change of expression. He seemed to have recalled something and suddenly shot toward Yi Wen and the rest. "Quick, control them." The other 3 reacted as well. However, in the next moment, the 4 of them realized to their horror that they could not move their bodies. It was as if an invisible force had imprisoned them. Then, in front of the 4 people's shocked gazes, a skinny figure suddenly walked out from the void. The figure was silent for a while before finally turning his head slightly. His gaze at Yi Wen and the other 3 women was gentle. "Don't worry. With me here, no one can hurt a single hair on you." "Brother," Yi Wen pounced over and bawled. "Master! Brother Yi! Master!" At the same time, Xiao Ye, Yushasha, and Tang Ning pounced over uncontrollably. They hugged Yi Chen tightly and could not stop crying. The 4 women's emotions were like the water of the Yellow River that had burst its dam. They finally poured out at that moment. "Mad Southern Yi, it's Mad Southern Yi! That man is back!" On the other hand, Azure Dragon and the rest widened their eyes. There was only shock left in their eyes, but there was even more fear. At the same time, another 3 figures appeared from the void. They were Yi Wushuang, who was hugging Meng Meng, and Luo Tianya and his sister. Luo Shaiyao mumbled jealously when she saw Yi Chen being surrounded by the 4 women. "This guy is hugging women as soon as he comes back." Luo Tianyao, who was next to her, looked down and thought to himself, I didn't see anything. Chapter 955. Brother! I thought I would never see you again in my life. Yi Wen hugged Yi Chen tightly. She felt an indescribable bitterness. She raised her nose and her eyes were filled with tears. "All right, you're already so old, yet you're still acting like a child. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at if this gets out?" Yi Chen patted her shoulder lightly and let go of her. He looked at Xiao Ye, Tang Ning, and Yushasha one by one. "Thank you for your hard work when I wasn't around." A hint of guilt flashed through his eyes. When he turned around, his smile gradually faded as he stared coldly at Azure Dragon and the rest. The 4 of them immediately felt the pressure on them loosen, and then they regained their mobility. Even so, the 4 of them still did not dare to move. Plop! Azure Dragon knelt heavily before Yi Chen and said while trembling, "And Mr. Yi, please spare my life. You still know me after all." Yi Chen was slightly surprised. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. "I thought you didn't know me." "Mr. Yi, it's a misunderstanding." "This is all a misunderstanding." Azure Dragon was horrified. He kowtowed desperately and said, "I thought you were dead. So, if I'm really dead, you guys can touch my people?" The smile on Yi Chen's face became colder. "Do you guys know that I hate traitors the most in my life? Go to hell." Azure Dragon gritted his teeth and growled. Then, he quickly took out a bag of poison powder at Yi Chen. Anyone who came into contact with the poison powder would turn into blood instantly. However, to his horror, the bag of poison powder stopped moving after it was scattered into the air. He was met with Yi Chen's mocking gaze. His body trembled, and he leaped towards the window of the building without saying anything. He seemed to want to break the window and escape. The other 3 did the same. On the other hand, Yi Chen lifted his palm and stretched it out gently. His slender palm seemed to have pierced through space and wrapped around the space where the 4 of them were. "No!" Azure Dragon roared. Bang, 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 the 4 of them exploded into a bloody mist. You guys deserve to die for helping the wicked. Yi Chen looked at the stunned Star Pavilion guard next to him again. Sword intent surged in his eyes. Subsequently, it turned into sword intent that filled the sky and slashed. The scene was littered with dismembered corpses. The series of actions was completed in the blink of an eye. Yi Wen and the rest were completely stunned when they snapped back to their senses. They were the 4 mutant kings who were comparable to half-step emperor stage. Now they were killed by Yi Chen effortlessly. Brother, you're too amazing. Yi Wen was the first to react. She looked at Yi Chen with admiration. The 4 mutant kings that her star group had spent countless resources to nurture were no different from ants to Yi Chen. The expressions of the other 3 women were not much better. Yi Chen sat down and said while smiling, "Now, tell me what you guys have experienced while I was away." "It's like this," Yi Wen said slowly. As she narrated, Yi Chen roughly understood the experiences of the people in Tiannan when he was not around. Among them, the one who improved the fastest was the Patriarch of Hell. The Patriarch had sensed it on the day the spiritual energy recovered on Earth. Then, he used the spiritual energy to break through several levels and stepped into Golden Core in one go. When the Patriarch was undergoing the Golden Core tribulation, he ran to the capital of Japan alone and released his aura to trigger the Golden Core tribulation. This kind of sinister move caused countless politicians who were having a meeting in the capital of Japan to be killed by the heavenly tribulation. Even the tallest symbol of Japan, the Tokyo Tower, was struck down by lightning. After that, the Japanese sent 10,000 self-defense forces, fighter jets, tanks, and nuclear bombs to deal with the Patriarch. In the end, not only did the Patriarch escape, but he even killed many of them. As the world changed, all sorts of animals and plants mutated. The Patriarch of Hell was the first to notice the benefit. For example, the age of the mutated medicinal herbs increased exponentially, or the inner cores of ferocious beasts could be used to refine medicine. Therefore, under the guidance of the Patriarch of Hell, the Star Group started operating with all its financial resources. In just 3 months it became the #1 consortium in China. Even the 5 consortiums behind it could not catch up. Meanwhile, Yan Nanfei, Pang Yuanqing, Han Qinhu, and the rest had also stepped into the Emperor's stage under the guidance of the Patriarch of Hell. As the 3 provinces of Tiannan were located in a mountainous area, there were many mountains and dense forests. After many animals mutated, it caused a beast horde to erupt, continuously attacking the human cities of Tiannan. The Star Group decisively cooperated with the government and mobilized a large amount of financial resources and manpower to form an alliance army. Yan Nanfei and the rest led the team to kill the beast horde. That was why Tiannan was safe now. Yi Chen said in confusion, "Why didn't the Patriarch of Hell kill all of them when the 5 consortiums joined forces to attack the Star Group?" "Brother, you don't know," Yi Wen explained. After the spiritual energy recovery, many almighties suddenly appeared in the world. The Patriarch said that these old farts are ancient beings who have been sleeping for a long time. Now that the spiritual energy recovery has awakened them, that's why many forbidden lands and secret realms have appeared. Ancient almighties have appeared in China one after another. For example, after the Yangtze River stopped flowing, the Dragon Palace was discovered at the bottom of the river, and the old dragon that could speak. Another example is the ancient Egyptian pyramids, the resurrection of many mummy pharaohs, and the transformation of the Sphinx into a burly man. Someone saw divine light rising into the sky from the Vatican, and then angels with wings descended. There were also gods chanting on Mount Olympus. She paused for a moment and said, "The Patriarch suspects that the 5 consortiums are backed by ancient almighties. He was worried that he would be targeted if he was too high profile, so he did not kill them all." Yi Chen nodded slowly when he heard that. This was indeed the Patriarch's style. In his previous life, he was an almighty who had undergone tribulation. It was naturally not that simple for him to be able to grow to such an extent. Thinking to this point, he could not help but say, "Before I came, I heard that the patriarch went to Mount Tai and was suppressed by an ancient almighty. Is that true?" As soon as that was said, the four women's expressions turned grim. In the end, Xiaoya said, "Master, the patriarch has indeed gone to Mount Tai. He hasn't returned for a month. The people we sent to gather information haven't returned either." "Brother, do you think the patriarch will?" Yiwen said worriedly. It could be said that the patriarch had been supporting them when Yi Chen was not around. Therefore, they still had feelings for the patriarch. "I don't think so." Yi Chen smiled lightly when he saw the women's worried gazes. "The patriarch is a smart person. Even I don't know how many tricks he has up his sleeve. However, I do need to go to Mount Tai to see who dares to attack the patriarch." He scoffed coldly, and there was an endless cold gleam in his smile. "Some people think that I'm dead, so they dare to come out and cause trouble. It's time to let them know. I'm invincible again. P.S. Chapter 4, that's it. Please give me a ticket. I'll explode on the 29th. Chapter 956. It's reported that the mutant fruit on Mount Tai is about to mature. All the forces in China have rushed to Mount Tai. On the day Yi Chen returned, an earth-shattering news came from Mount Tai. Everyone looked over at the same time. Ever since the spiritual energy recovery, the world had changed drastically. Famous mountains like Mount Tai and Mount Hua were no longer tourist attractions. Instead, they had become dangerous places. It was because these famous mountains had been shrouded in fog for the past 10 months. Ferocious beasts roamed within, and ordinary people would die if they went deep. Some forces had tried to attack these famous mountains, but they were all wiped out in the end. Ever since then, these famous mountains had been regarded as forbidden grounds. A month ago, the spiritual energy on Mount Tai, the head of the 5 mountains, was suddenly unsealed. A mutant fruit appeared, emitting a strange fragrance that caused China to boil. In the end, many forces could not resist the temptation of the mutant fruit and headed to Mount Tai. Even humans could not resist it, let alone mutant beasts. In an instant, both humans and mutant beasts gathered at Mount Tai. "What? All the forces are there?" Someone could not help but say in shock. Could it be that the 6 major consortiums of China are here too? Ever since the spiritual energy recovery and the changes on Earth, 6 major consortiums had appeared in China. They were Star Group, Fuxi Taiji, Nuwa Godmaker, Panga Biology, Primordial Gene, and Spiritual Energy Recovery. These 6 consortiums were terrifyingly powerful. They had all started to study human cultivation, invented gene fluids, spiritual energy firearms, and other measures. It could be said that they controlled the core cultivation power of China and were regarded as a holy land by all mutants. "Yes, you're right." Someone chuckled and said, "In fact, the 6 consortiums had already rushed to Mount Tai a month ago when the mutant fruit appeared. Even the 6 consortiums have moved. Oh my God, it's a big deal. It's definitely a big deal. Looks like the mutant fruit that appeared this time is definitely extraordinary. I've heard that this mutant fruit was born in response to the luck of Mount Tai. It can allow an ordinary person to become a level 9 mutant in one go." "That's right, I've heard that Mount Tai has been known as the head of the 5 mountains since ancient times. The emperors of all dynasties have held the ceremony here. Naturally, it's extraordinary." An insider revealed a big secret. Rumor has it that when the mutant fruit appeared on Mount Tai had the manifestation of the saints. As this secret was spread, the whole world was in an uproar. After the spirit energy awakening, plants and animals mutated. Some of the talented humans awakened and became mutants on the spot. Although most people could not awaken on the spot, they found a way to become mutants. That was to consume the mutated spirit fruit and use the spirit fruit to transform the body and become a mutant. Of course, the process was extremely dangerous. As the world's understanding of the spirit chi revival deepened, many biotechnology companies took the lead in using these mutant fruits to develop gene vitality fluid, thus turning ordinary people into mutants. This method was relatively tame. Now that the strange fruit on Mount Tai had caused such a huge commotion and even caused a natural phenomenon, how could it be ordinary? At the same time, a piece of news was released. The 6 consortiums joined hands and deployed large-scale spiritual energy weapons to attack Mount Tai. Within a month, they paid a terrible price and finally annihilated the beast tide on Mount Tai, successfully reaching the top of Mount Tai. Before everyone could react, another piece of news spread. The number 1 person of Star Group, the Patriarch of Hell, suppressed the other 5 consortiums and mutants and dominated Mount Tai. Unfortunately, an ancient almighty appeared on Mount Tai and suppressed the Patriarch of Hell. As the news spread, countless people were shocked. What? An ancient almighty appeared? The number 1 person of Star Group, the Patriarch of Hell, was suppressed? Someone was shocked. How is that possible? One must know that the Patriarch of Hell was a powerhouse before the Spirit Energy Awakening. After the Spirit Energy Awakening, he was even known as one of the only 8 powerhouses in China. The news was spread by the 5 consortiums, so it can't be wrong. Moreover, the 5 consortiums are communicating with that ancient almighty in an attempt to cooperate. Someone who knew the truth chuckled. Oh my God, in that case, the 5 consortiums want to take that ancient almighty under their command. In that case, the Star Group is in danger. They might even be destroyed by the 5 consortiums. At that moment, many people began to worry about the future of the Star Group. After all, the Star Group had contributed a lot to the safety of humans after the Beast Tide outbreak. Especially when the 5 consortiums were scheming against each other and trying to control China, the Star Group still sent their mutants to cooperate with the government to suppress the Beast Tide. Sigh, what a pity! Some of the older generation said with tears in their eyes. The Star Group was the property of the former number 1 person in China, Mad Southern Yi. If Mad Southern Yi was still alive, these clowns wouldn't have the chance to behave atrociously. Mad Southern Yi? You think too highly of him. Someone retorted with a sneer. It's true that Mad Southern Yi was the number 1 person in China before the Spirit Energy Awakening, but don't forget that things are different now. That's right. His words were immediately agreed by the others. After the Spirit Energy Awakening, the mythical era descended, and everyone entered the era of cultivation. Just the rocket launcher developed by the 5 consortiums can kill him. Countless people agreed with him. After all, the future generations would not remember the history of their predecessors forever. It was just like how a young celebrity who had just debuted dared to look down on any old artist. As a die-hard fan of this young celebrity, because the old artist had never heard of their idol's name, they went to his Weibo to insult him. While the country was discussing the mutant fruit on Mount Tai, a private plane made by the Star Group was flying toward Mount Tai in the sky. Yi Chen carried his daughter and looked at the tablet in his hand calmly. He quietly understood the situation in the country and abroad. In reality, what he wanted to know the most was the situation on Mount Tai. He wanted to contact Yang Tian, the Patriarch, and the rest who were on Mount Tai through the communicator. However, after the Spirit Energy Awakening, the magnetic field of heaven and earth had changed, especially the magnetic field of famous mountains like Mount Tai, which was extremely chaotic. Even as one of the 6 consortiums, the Star Group still did not have the means to break through Mount Tai's magnetic field and cover it in real time. Then, he turned his gaze to Luo Tianya and his sister behind him and said, "Brother Luo, Ms. Luo, what do you think?" Chaos. Luo Tianya frowned slightly. The secular world is too chaotic now. To be honest, the Spirit Energy Awakening has the greatest impact on the secular world. That's right. Luo Shuiyao nodded and said, "Yi Chen, you have to be careful. I heard from my grandfather that 500 years ago, some of the saints chose to sleep to deal with the great calamity. They must be the ones who woke up after the Spirit Energy Awakening." Saints? Yi Chen peeled a grape and fed it to his daughter. He said in a voice that only he could hear, "I've even killed immortals, let alone mere saints." P.S. The first chapter is being given an intravenous drip in the hospital. This chapter is written now. I'll write the rest when I get back. I'll update it tonight. Chapter 957. 2 hours later. On the mountain road from Tai'an to Mount Tai. The mountain was still filled with a faint fog. Under the rising sun, it was colorful, making one feel like they were in a paradise on Earth. Even so, there were still many mutants on the narrow mountain road. Some of them were alone, while some were in groups. Their goal was the peak of Mount Tai. Everyone was heading for the mutant fruit that was about to ripen at the peak of Mount Tai. Of course, they might not have the strength to fight with the 6 consortiums, but at the very least, it was good to come and see the world. Even so, there were mutants fighting from time to time along the way. The reason was probably because someone had discovered a rare herb in the forest, which attracted the covetous eyes of others. In a team of 5, Meng, who was in Yi Chen's embrace, said sleepily, "Daddy, what are we doing here? Are we going to look for Mommy, Grandpa, and Grandma?" "No, I'm going to see your Uncle Hell. I'll look for Mommy and the rest after I'm done," Yi Chen comforted while smiling. His initial idea was to enter the Kunlun ruins and destroy the 5 ancient clans. After finding Wushuang, he would head to the ancient desolate realm to look for Su Yuhan and his parent. However, who would have thought that the spiritual energy recovery would bring such a huge change to the world? He could not help but postpone this plan for the time being. The reason being, along the way, he had seen too much. The beast horde wreaked havoc in the world, the people's hearts fell, and the order was in chaos. Some people lost their families, and some people shed their blood to resist the beast horde. He knew that he couldn't bear to leave all of this behind. After all, he was the one who had caused the changes in China. At that moment, a commotion came from the mountain road behind them, followed by an unfriendly voice, "Move aside, move aside. A good dog doesn't block the way." Everyone turned around and saw a group of arrogant people pushing their way through the crowd and walking towards them. The person leading the way was a mutant. Most importantly, he had a pair of extremely large ears like cattail leaf fans. If it was in the past, perhaps some people would go up and take all sorts of photos with curiosity in mind. However, they were no longer surprised. After all, this was the price of awakening and becoming a mutant. Some people became mutants and gained an extra eye, some grew a pair of horns, and some even grew wings. However, there were also people who were unwilling to accept it. They said rather unhappily, "The road is facing the sky, we should each walk on one side. Why should we make way?" It was a mutant with a pair of ivory tusks. More importantly, he was a level 4 mutant and he had quite a few teammates with him. Well said. His words immediately received the support of the majority of the people, and there were even some people who faintly had ill intentions and wanted to take action for the past. "Why?" That person sneered, then looked behind him and said proudly, "Because we are from Fushi Taiji, because the person behind me is senior brother Wang Hai of Fushi Taiji." Everyone was shocked. Fushi Taiji. That was one of the 6 largest consortiums. As his voice fell, a handsome young man dressed in white slowly walked out from behind him. There was an additional vertical eye between his brows, making him look rather demonic. The young man scanned the crowd expressionlessly, and his gaze finally landed on the mutant with ivory tusks. As the third eye between his brows trembled a few times, a flame immediately shot out and headed straight for the mutant with ivory tusks. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the other party did not even have the time to scream before he turned into ashes in an instant. The scene was dead silent. No one expected a level 4 mutant to die in an instant. The young man in white smiled faintly. "Is there anyone else who is unconvinced?" A mutant looked at the young man in white in shock and cried out involuntarily, "Why, you're a level 6 mutant." The moment that was said, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Level 6 mutant. Although it had been 10 months since the spiritual energy awakened, most people were still stuck on the path of awakening and becoming mutants, or were still lingering on the path of being a level 3 or 4 mutant. However, there were always some talented people who were ahead of everyone else and soared all the way to level 6, level 7, level 8, and even level 9 mutants. Any level 6 mutant's combat strength was comparable to a martial venerable among ancient martial artists. With such combat strength, even in the 6 major consortiums, their status would definitely not be low. Whoosh! Those who were initially unconvinced all made way, afraid that they would follow the footsteps of the level 4 mutant from before. They did not dare to be unconvinced anymore. What a joke! Daring to be unconvinced by a level 6 mutant was courting death. Moreover, the other party was backed by Fushi Taiji, one of the 6 major consortiums. A mutant mustered his courage and apologized to the young man in white, Wang Hai. So it's senior brother Wang from Fushi Taiji. We failed to recognize you earlier. Please forgive us. The rest apologized as well. Wang Hai smiled lightly and turned around to walk toward Yi Chen and the rest. The person who opened the way first berated again. Are you blind? A good dog doesn't block the way. Did you hear that? However, Yi Chen and the rest did not move. Are you deaf? The man's expression turned grim. He then walked over quickly and extended his hand to push Yi Chen. The rest gloated. Li Fu, wait! Just when the man was about to touch Yi Chen, Wang Hai, who was behind him, suddenly shouted. When Li Fu turned around in confusion, he saw Wang Hai walking over quickly. He brushed past Yi Chen and eventually walked to Luo Shuiyao. He said elegantly, "Are you going to the peak of Mount Tai too, beautiful?" Luo Shuiyao was stunned. Even Yi Chen and Luo Tianyao were no exception. The two of them thought that they were going to kill these 2 pretentious B***stars. Never did they expect them to fall for Luo Shuiyao. Yi Chen could not help but look at Luo Tianyao with a smirk as he thought to this point. His gaze seemed to be saying, "Someone is masturbating your sister right in front of you. Do whatever you want." Luo Tianyao frowned as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. If he could continue watching, he wouldn't have been called the crazy sister protector. Just as he was about to make his move, Luo Shuiyao, who was next to him, reacted. She said shyly to Wang Hai, "Yes, senior brother, I am indeed going to the top of Mount Tai." After saying that, she deliberately revealed a very weak and pitiful look. Those who did not know would think that she was really a weak woman. "My name is Wang Hai, a level 6 mutant, Fushi Taiji." Her delicate look instantly made Wang Hai's bones go soft. "If you don't mind, why don't you come up the mountain with me?" "I don't mind, of course I don't mind." Luo Shuiyao nodded like a chick pecking at rice. Then, she looked at him in admiration, her beautiful eyes filled with stars. "I saw everything just now. Senior brother Wang is very powerful. He's the most powerful mutant I've ever seen. You have to protect me." Chapter 958. To an ordinary man, beautiful women were usually the most lethal. To a man who claimed to be a powerhouse, a beautiful woman who was pitiful and admired was usually more lethal because that would arouse a man's desire to protect her. Wang Hai was the latter. He smiled faintly and said proudly, "Don't worry, junior sister. With me around, no one will dare to hurt you." "I wonder how I should address you, junior sister?" he asked in an extremely gentlemanly manner. Then, he placed a hand on Luo Shuiyao's shoulder intentionally or unintentionally. This method could be said to be effective. Every time he flirted with a woman, he would first start with physical contact before slowly moving to the sensitive part. He could also test the woman's attitude toward him. This scene caused Luo Tianya's eyes to reveal killing intent. "You can just call me Yao Yao." Luo Shuiyao dodged at the right time and covered her mouth while smiling. "It's getting late. Senior brother Wang, let's go up the mountain earlier. Otherwise, the fruit will be snatched away." Wang Hai was slightly disappointed, but he did not dwell on it. After nodding, he led everyone up the mountain. Seemingly sensing the hostility from Luo Tianyao, he could not help but say with some vigilance, "By the way, junior sister Yao Yao, who are these three?" He seemed to be sizing up Yi Chen and the other two in jealousy. The three of them were much more good-looking than him. Among them, Luo Tianyao had blonde hair and a dignified appearance. Yi Wushuang was dressed in white and had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. Although Yi Chen was carrying a child, he looked as handsome as a god. Them? A cunning look flashed through Luo Shuiyao's beautiful eyes before she giggled. "They're the security guards my dad arranged for me. They're stupid. Apart from their good looks, they don't have any abilities at all. Fortunately, I met you, senior brother." Yi Chen could not help but look at Luo Tianyao when they heard that. They saw helplessness in each other's eyes. Among the three of them, two of them had quasi-saint's combat strength, while the other had a combat strength comparable to a saint's. In the end, they became bodyguards. Wang Hai's guard was completely gone when he heard that Yi Chen and the other two had no abilities at all. Coupled with the fact that they did not reveal their auras, they were like ordinary people. Along the way, Wang Hai deliberately chatted with Luo Shuiyao, showing off his background from time to time. Luo Shuiyao also cooperated and made various expressions of admiration and shock, which greatly satisfied Luo Shuiyao's vanity. Wang Hai suddenly said, "By the way, junior sister Yao Yao, I wonder which power you are from? Why haven't I seen you before?" "Faction?" Luo Shuiyao shook her head blankly. "Senior brother, we don't belong to any forces. We just came from a rich family and became a mutant by luck." As soon as he said that, Wang Hai's smile grew brighter. The more he came into contact with Luo Shuiyao, the more he coveted her. However, he was a little worried about which great force or consortium she came from, so he asked this question. Luo Shuiyao's answer allowed him to completely relax. He could not help but say, "Junior sister, if you don't mind, you can join my Fushi Taiji. At that time, I'll introduce you." "Senior brother, is your Fushi Taiji very powerful?" Luo Shuiyao asked half-truthfully. "Of course," Wang Hai said with incomparable pride. "Fushi Taiji is one of the 6 major consortiums in China. It's the holy land in the hearts of all the mutants in the world. Moreover, among the top 10 mutants in China, the ultimate weapon, Li Yuanhao, is Fushi Taiji's." "Top 10 mutants?" Yi Chen said with great interest. "I wonder which 10. Although Wang Hai was unwilling to talk to him, he still cleared his throat and said after seeing Luo Shuiyao's curious expression. He cleared his throat and said, "Among the top 10 mutants, the 6 major consortiums in China each occupy a spot. The rest are rogue cultivators or those nurtured by small forces. They're not worth mentioning. Ranked 6th is Shun Lingxi from the Spiritual Energy Recovery Consortium. This woman was the first to become a mutant after the spiritual energy recovery. Then, she spent half a year to become a level 8 mutant. Ranked 5th is Dark Left-Hand Chu Kuang from the Primordial Gene Consortium. He's also a level 8 mutant. His left hand can turn into nothingness, making it impossible to guard against him. That's why he's called Dark Left-Hand. Ranked 4th is Qin Bingyan from the Nuwa Creator Consortium. She's a level 8 mutant. It's said that she has the bloodline of the Fox clan in her body. Therefore, after the spiritual energy recovery, she awakened her bloodline and grew 8 fox tails. Ranked 3rd is Panga Biology Consortium's Ning Renwang. At this point, he paused for a moment and said in admiration, "The ultimate weapon ranked 2nd, Li Yuanhao, is a member of Fushi Taiji. Senior brother Li has awakened a Dao sword in his body. He can take a person's head within 3,000 meters. What about the first place?" Yi Chen interrupted. Wang Hai looked displeased, but he still said fearfully, "The first place is Star Group's Yang Pejuan, a level 9 mutant. This person has endless tricks up his sleeves. He can summon wind and lightning, turn invisible, and burrow underground. He's omnipotent, Yang Pejuan?" Yi Chen was stunned at first. Then, realization flashed through his eyes. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. He knew it was Yang Tian without even thinking about it. This guy actually gave him a name like defeating armies. Luo Shuiyao said in disappointment, "Senior Brother Wang, your Fushi Taiji is only ranked second. Doesn't that mean that your Fushi Taiji can't compare to the star group?" "Forget it then. I'll just join the star group." Cough, cough, cough. Don't, junior sister. The strength of a consortium can't be measured by a mutant's combat strength alone. Wang Hai felt like he could not breathe when he heard that. He almost suffocated to death. He hurriedly said, "Fushi Taiji and the other 5 consortiums are not on good terms with the star group. Once you join the star group, it means that we're enemies. Moreover, the star group can't even protect itself now. Their Patriarch of Hell was suppressed by an ancient almighty on Mount Tai." He advised earnestly, Yang Pejuan, who's ranked first on the mutant leaderboard, is currently being hunted down by the mutant powerhouses of the 5 consortiums on Mount Tai. He's probably dead by now. Without them, the star group is about to be destroyed. Don't stand on the wrong side. I see. Luo Shuiyao rolled her beautiful eyes and suddenly said, "But I heard that other than the Patriarch of Hell, there's another legendary figure in the star group. This person was the number 1 in China and Southeast Asia before this." "You're talking about Mad Southern Yi, right?" Wang Hai frowned in fear and said, "There's indeed such a person. However, he has been missing for 10 months. Even when the Patriarch of Hell was suppressed, he didn't come out. It's obvious that he's dead." At this point, he regained his composure. Moreover, even if Mad Southern Yi is still alive, the 5 consortiums aren't afraid. As long as we use our secret weapons, even a heavenly god will be destroyed. Let alone a mere Mad Southern Yi? Chapter 959. Mount Tai, also known as Mount Tai, Grandmaster Dai, Mount Tai, East Peak, and Tai Peak, was one of the 5 great mountains in China. Because of the majestic, and heavy mountain, it was revered as the supreme of the 5 mountains and the number 1 mountain in the world. In ancient times, Mount Tai also symbolized the Mount Tai god, the great emperor of East Peak. It was regarded as the place closest to the gods in the world. Therefore, since ancient times, the emperors of the dynasties had tried to hold a ceremony at Mount Tai. The so-called ceremony was the act of the emperor reporting to the heavens and earth about his great feat of reorganizing the world. At the same time, he expressed his acceptance of the heavenly mandate to govern the world. An hour later, the group successfully arrived at the peak of Mount Tai, Jade Emperor Peak. Jade Emperor Peak was also known as Taiping Peak and Tianzhu Peak. It was named after the Jade Emperor Temple at the peak. As far as the eye could see, ancient pines were lush and clouds hung in the sky. There were many ancient ruins and cliff tablets. The surroundings were densely packed with people. There were many small hills in the middle. These hills were already filled with people from various forces. They huddled together for warmth and looked at the people around them with warning expressions. In the past month, the various forces had fought countless battles for control of the hills, causing the air to still be filled with the pungent smell of blood. Through these hills, one could see the Jade Emperor Temple in the distance, as well as the purple fruit tree growing on the cliff. On it there was a purple fruit the size of an adult's fist. Under the reflection of the rising sun, the purple fruit emitted a 5-colored glow. It was dazzling like a natural Dao embryo. A strange fragrance wafted, tempting one's heart. Yi Chen's eyes were attracted as well. A gleam flashed through his eyes. Purple embryo fruit, it's actually the purple embryo fruit. The so-called purple embryo fruit could bring a mortal back to life and grow flesh. On the other hand, a cultivator's cultivation base could increase tremendously, or even increase by a level. Of course, it was only limited to those below nascent soul, because at nascent soul, one would mainly cultivate their primordial spirit. Yi Chen came to a realization. No wonder the scheming patriarch risked his life to come here. He clearly wants to step into mastery stage golden core through the purple embryo fruit. However, the purple embryo fruit was not ripe yet. That was also the reason why all the forces present were still maintaining a relatively peaceful situation. Once the purple embryo fruit ripened, an unprecedented battle would break out. In the distance, on top of a few mountains closest to the purple embryo fruit, there were several figures with powerful auras standing there. Did you see that? The young man on the second mountain on the left is the 5th-ranked dark left-hand Chu Kuang. At that moment, a mutant next to Yi Chen pointed and secretly introduced it to the people around him. Yi Chen looked in the direction of his finger and saw that the young man called Chu Kuang was bald. At that moment, he was crossing his arms in front of his chest and resting with his eyes closed. The power that he faintly emitted caused many people to be secretly shocked. The one with 8 foxtails beside Chu Kuang is Qin Bingyan, ranked 4th on the mutant ranking of the Nuwa Creator Consortium? Someone else asked. That's right, it's Miss Qin. The person from before nodded and said, "It is said that her father is a high-ranking official of the Nuwa Deity Creator Corporation. Before the spirit energy revival, the Qin family's financial resources could be said to be a giant in Bash. It's said that Miss Qin possesses the bloodline of the Fox clan and that her every word and action is naturally charming and can be said to be a stunner. Now that I've seen her today, she really lives up to her reputation." Many people were astounded, and their eyes were filled with amazement. Yi Chen glanced at the lady named Qin Bingyan and released his divine consciousness to sense the bloodline in her body. It really is the bloodline of the Fox clan. He nodded to himself. Looks like it's a bloodline atavism, and its grade isn't low either. Looks like this Qin family should have a 9-tailed celestial fox ancestor. Could it be a descendant of Daji during the Shang dynasty? Almost at that moment, a seductive woman dressed like a demon concubine in the distance trembled, and a trace of fear appeared on her pretty face. A young man in a suit beside her noticed it and immediately asked, "Bingyan, are you all right?" "No." Qin Bingyan shook her head slightly and looked at the crowd in a daze. She gritted her teeth lightly. "I don't know why, but I felt like someone was spying on me just now. It made me shudder, but I couldn't find the person." "How is that possible?" The young man in the suit's expression changed slightly, and he was a little surprised. "You're a level 8 mutant. You can even deal with ordinary level 9 mutants. I suspect that there are mutants above level 9 at the scene." Qin Bingyan secretly inhaled sharply and said with a trembling voice, "It's very likely that the other party is an ancient almighty or an ancient sage." The young man in the suit immediately revealed a wary expression. "There's no need to look anymore." Qin Bingyan shook her head and said, "Maybe it's just my imagination. Our top priority right now is to think of a way to communicate with the senior in the Jade Emperor Temple. We can't let the other 4 consortiums succeed. We still have to find Yang Pejuan." The young man in the suit gritted his teeth and enunciated word by word, "This guy is a rabbit." He hid the moment he saw that he was no match for the 5 mutants. "Your senses aren't bad." Yi Chen chuckled softly and expanded his divine consciousness to almost cover a radius of 3,000 meters. He tried to find Yang Tian and the Patriarch of Hell. However, when his divine consciousness reached the vicinity of the Jade Emperor Temple, it was bounced back by a mysterious force. Formation. Yi Chen looked over and a hint of curiosity flashed through his eyes. There's actually a formation around the Jade Emperor Temple. Could it be that the group of ancient almighties who suppressed the Patriarch of Hell are inside? Just as he was about to forcefully invade with his divine consciousness, a strange expression could not help but appear on his face. This was because, under the perception of his divine consciousness, he discovered that there were 2 pandas walking over from 8,000 meters away. They were 2 pandas, one big and one small. The smaller one was chubby, with a round belly and a pair of dark circles under its eyes. It was walking leisurely towards them like a ball rolling on the ground. The big one was relatively tall. Every few steps it took with its butt in the air, it would look around guiltily. The big panda tiptoed and whispered as it walked, "Silly Chong, are you sure your idea is okay? Will they really not notice me? Can you stop glancing around like a rat? Even a fool can tell that there's something wrong with you." The small panda said as it rolled, "In the past, when I was in the zoo, this was how I secretly ate the six flavor Remania pills that the director hid. Also, can you not call me Silly Chong? I'm called Xiao Chong. Let me remind you again." "Alright, Silly Chong," the giant panda muttered. "It's a pity that I, Yang Tian, was forced to this extent. The patriarch has really tricked me this time." Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly realized that someone was looking at them. He hurriedly shut his mouth and swaggered past everyone with the small panda. The people from Fushi Taiji asked impatiently, "Haven't you found Yang Pejuan yet?" "No, we've sent a lot of people. We've almost searched the surrounding 5 kilometers, but we still can't find this brat," someone replied. "Continue to send more people. We have to find him before the mutant fruit ripens. If he's alive, we have to see him. If he's dead, we have to see his corpse." While they were talking, although they saw 2 pandas, one big and one small, pass by them, they did not pay much attention to them. "What cute pandas!" At this moment, an extremely joyful voice rang out. A woman in a purple dress walked over quickly, then hugged the 2 pandas in her arms. "It's Shen Lingxi from the Spiritual Energy Recovery Consortium. She's ranked 6th on the mutant leaderboard." Someone recognized her at a glance. Someone saw Shen Lingxi hugging the 2 pandas tightly in her arms and said jealously, "Oh my god, my goddess has been taken over by 2 pandas just like that. How great would it be if I were those 2 pandas? Where did these 2 pandas come from?" The people from the Spiritual Energy Recovery Consortium kindly reminded her, "Young mistress, be careful. They might be mutated beasts and might be aggressive." "It's fine. How aggressive can such cute pandas be?" Shen Lingxi shook her head nonchalantly. At the next moment, she hugged the big panda even tighter, and her chest could be said to be in seamless contact. "Damn it, this woman smells like a fox. I can't take it anymore," a suppressed voice was heard. Then, under everyone's gaze, the big panda in Shen Lingxi's arms swayed and turned into a person. A living man. He was hugged by Shen Lingxi just like that. Everyone froze. Shen Lingxi looked at the man in her arms in a daze. She did not come back to her senses for a moment. P.S. I've made everyone wait for the 4th chapter. I've finished updating it today. There will be a new chapter tomorrow. There should be no less than 10 chapters. It will be tomorrow night. Please give me monthly votes and recommendation vote. Chapter 960. At the peak of Mount Tai, Jade Emperor Peak. At that moment, the world was dead silent. Everyone stared blankly at the man in Shen Lingxi's arms. They felt that their brains could not react. Shen Lingxi was clearly hugging a panda earlier. How did she suddenly turn into a man? Shen Lingxi was even more stunned. Under everyone's gaze, Yang Tian, who was in her arms, smiled awkwardly. Can I say that this is all a misunderstanding?" At that moment, he even wanted to die. In order to avoid being targeted by the 5 consortiums, he could only listen to the little panda's suggestion and transform into a panda in an attempt to get away with it. Seeing that no one noticed their abnormality, who would have thought that Shen Lingxi would actually be so adorable? Without saying a word, she hugged him in her arms. That was why her technique was broken. After Shen Lingxi snapped out of her daze, she subconsciously let go of her hands and threw Yang Tian and the little panda out. Her pretty face was so red that it looked like it was about to drip blood. "Yang Pejuan, he's Yang Pejuan. Stop him, don't let him escape." Almost at that moment, the people from Pangu Biology recognized Yang Tian's identity. A level 8 mutant charged over in an instant. "Sha Chong, let's run." Yang Tian's expression changed slightly. He immediately looked around and tried to tell the little panda to run, but he realized that a round ball had already escaped 100 feet away. F***CK. F***CKU. Yang Tian's expression changed instantly. Get lost. He threw out a punch and sent the level 8 mutant flying. Without saying a word, he ran away. Kill him. You must kill him. Shen Lingxi ordered the person who had recovered from the spiritual energy. She was extremely embarrassed and annoyed. She, Shen Lingxi, was the strongest mutant ranked 6th on the mutant leaderboard. She was also a member of the Spiritual Energy Recovery Consortium and was known as a goddess by the people. Now, she was actually taken advantage of by a man. If word got out, not only would her reputation be damaged, even the prestige of the consortium behind her would plummet. At that moment, more than 10 mutants jumped out from the Spiritual Energy Recovery Consortium's camp. Each of them was holding an extremely thick firearm. Bang bang bang. The firearms that had been modified by advanced technology were unleashed at full force, and the sound of gunfire was deafening. The bullets were like a plague of locusts, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Even a level 7 mutant would be riddled with holes if he were to face them head-on. This was the power of a financial group. Holy shit! The moment the gun was fired, Yang Tian sensed the danger behind him. His figure instantly became like an old ape in the mountains, extremely agile, turning into an afterimage as he leaped from mountain to mountain. Bullets whizzed past him, causing many mutants to be injured. Screams of agony could be heard as people fell to the ground one after another. Beauty Shen, aren't you being too ruthless? Yang Tian teased as he ran. At least we've been intimate, husband and wife. Is this how you treat me? Bastard. Shen Lingxi was so angry that her pretty face turned livid. She was also a little shocked that Yang Tian could actually avoid the path of the bullet. Change to a rocket launcher and kill him. She immediately issued another order. Wait. At that moment, a young man in golden armor from the Primordial Gene Consortium stepped out and stopped him. This person can avoid the path of bullets. Ordinary firearms are useless against him. In order to prevent hurting our own people, I suggest that the 5 of us attack together. Its dark left hand, ranked 5th on the mutant leaderboard, Chu Kuang. Someone revealed the young man's identity. Chu Kuang is right. Qin Bingyan from the Nuwa Creator Consortium also said. He was injured previously and has been running around. He doesn't have time to recover at all. If the 5 of us attack together, we will definitely be able to kill him. Attack. A sword gleam streaked across the sky, and a purple-clothed young man slashed at Yang Tian with a golden sword in his hand. Many people exclaimed, "The ultimate weapon, Li Yuanhao, ranked 2nd on the mutant leaderboard, has attacked." Boom! Almost at that moment, another 4 figures with powerful auras turned into afterimages and rushed towards Yang Tian. Qin Bingyan, Dark Left Hand, Chu Kuang, Ning Renwang, and Shen Lingxi have also attacked. Oh my god, the 5 strongest mutants have attacked together. It seems like their desire to kill Yang Pejuan is very strong. Everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Can Yang Pejuan hold on? Someone asked. A mutant who had been here for a month shook his head and said, "It's hard to say." He tried to barge into the Jade Emperor Temple to save the Patriarch of Hell, but he was severely injured. He's just an arrow at the end of its flight now. F***CK, you guys are the geniuses of the 5 consortiums after all. How dare you join forces against me? Don't you have any shame? Sensing the 5 extreme killing intent behind him, Yang Tian's expression changed slightly. If you have the guts, fight me alone. And Shen Lingxi, are you really willing to join forces with outsiders to kill your husband? You heartless woman. As soon as he finished speaking, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Killing intent flashed in the eyes of the ultimate weapon, Li Yuanhao, who was ranked 2nd on the mutant leaderboard. Yang Pejuan, you will definitely die today. When the 5 strongest mutants attacked, their might was naturally earth-shattering, almost causing the entire ground of the Jade Emperor Peak to shake violently. Li Yuanhao, you pretty boy. Don't tell me you want to kill me because you saw me being intimate with Shenlingxi? Yang Tian cursed as he ran. Die. Li Yuanhao's expression was extremely cold. He slashed at his back with his sword. The sword pierced through the void, and the battle power that erupted was comparable to a supreme giant. Break! Yang Tian roared angrily. Without any hesitation, he threw out an extremely violent punch, a Jura heaven-suppressing kill, slaughter all living beings with one strike. Rumble! Li Yuanhao's sword gleam immediately collapsed. Yang Tian was also forced back a few steps. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and his face was pale. He was the only level 9 mutant on the mutant leaderboard, and he was ranked first. If he was at his peak, the 5 people in front of him would not be his match at all. However, after the Patriarch of Hell barged into the Jade Emperor Temple and was suppressed, he tried to attack the Jade Emperor Temple to save the Patriarch. In the end, he was sent flying by the ancient Almighty inside and was injured. Oh my God! Yang Pejuan vomited blood. Looks like he's destined to die here today. What a pity. Yang Pejuan is ranked first on the mutant leaderboard and suppressed all the mutants. Perhaps he might be able to step into the godly state one day. Many people shook their heads. It's a pity that the elites of the Star Group have been sent to suppress the beast horde. Otherwise, Yang Pejuan wouldn't be attacked from all sides. Someone sighed. Once Yang Pejuan dies, the Star Group will have no one capable. By then, the situation in China will change again. Just as the 5 mutants were about to attack Yang Tian again, they heard an extremely clear voice beside them. Who said that there's no one in the Star Group? Chapter 961. Who said that there's no one in the Star Group? This voice was neither loud nor soft, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder. Every single word was transmitted into the ears of everyone present. When he finished speaking, everyone's attention could not help but be distracted. Everyone's attention couldn't help but be distracted. Then, everyone's gazes uniformly looked towards the direction of the voice. Even the ultimate weapon, Li Yuanhao and the other mutants were no exception. Their gazes were cold, as if they wanted to see who dared to speak rudely in such a situation. On the other hand, Yang Tian was overjoyed. Under everyone's gaze, Yi Chen, who was standing next to Wang Hai, walked out slowly while carrying his daughter. Why, you're crazy. Wang Hai was shocked by this sudden scene. His expression changed, and he hurriedly berated, "Bastard, go back. Don't drag me along if you want to die." At that moment, he even had the intention to kill Yi Chen. Idiot! Don't you see what kind of situation this is? If the 5 consortiums joined forces to fight the Star Group, even Yang Pejuan, the number 1 legend on the mutant leaderboard, would die. Yet, you suddenly stood out with a roar. Isn't that courting death? You might even implicate me. Since he was already like this, let alone the others. Whoosh! Almost at that moment, the crowd around Yi Chen retreated to the side when everyone's gazes swept over. Only Yi Wuxuang, Luo Tianyao, Luo Shuiyao, and the rest stood side by side with Yi Chen. They watched everything calmly. Wang Hai subconsciously wanted to pull Luo Shuiyao's hand. "Junior sister Yao Yao, quick, retreat to the back with me. It's his business if he wants to die." However, he was met with Luo Tianya's cold gaze. Just this glance made him feel as if he was in a cultivation hell. Who is this person? Many people looked at Yi Chen in shock. Could he be from the Star Group? Someone frowned and said, "But I've never seen this person before." One had to admit that ever since Yi Chen recovered to nascent soul in the Kunlun ruins, a nascent soul had been condensed in his body. The nascent soul was also called the acquired Tao embryo, so his appearance had changed slightly. Even though he didn't seem to have changed much, his temperament and demeanor had undergone a tremendous change. Thus, if one wasn't extremely familiar with him, it would be very difficult to recognize him in a short period of time. Many people saw that he was as handsome as a god. For a moment they were slightly dazed. Even Shen Lingxi and Qin Bingyan, the only ones among the 5 mutants, were no exception. If there's nothing wrong with your ears, I think so. Yi Chen walked out slowly while carrying his daughter, looking calm. The level 6 mutant sneered as killing intent flashed through his eyes. So, you're from the Star Group? Do you dare tell me your name? A mere ant doesn't deserve to know my name. Yi Chen stopped looking at him. He took a step out and walked to Yang Tian, who was far away slowly, as if he was taking a stroll in the park. The little fellow in his arms was extremely excited. Uncle Yang, where's Brother Hao? Why don't I see him? What? The surrounding people were in an uproar. They were stunned by Yi Chen's arrogance. One had to know that there were almost no upper echelons of the Star Group present on Jade Emperor Peak today. The only upper echelon, Yang Pejuan, was being attacked by everyone. However, Yi Chen dared to boast shamelessly under such circumstances. Could it be that he thought he could sweep through the world? You're courting death. The level 6 mutant was furious. His body swayed, and his body petrified instantly. He slapped Yi Chen's back like a stone man. He was a level 6 mutant after all. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? This is the petrification technique. Someone at the scene immediately exclaimed when he saw that. This person has awakened the petrification technique. He can instantly turn himself into a stone man. His body is extremely hard. Even a rocket launcher can't do any damage to him. Get lost. Yi Chen's expression remained the same as he spoke slowly. The word "get lost" exploded in the man's ears like a thunderclap. It was as if a nuclear bomb had exploded in his ears. The terrifying sound wave followed his eardrums and attacked his entire body domineeringly. Bang! He immediately let out a blood-curdling scream, and then his body exploded into a cloud of blood mist in front of everyone's eyes. A single word, and a level 6 mutant died without a complete corpse. The place fell into dead silence all of a sudden. Everyone looked at Yi Chen differently now. An expert, this person is also an expert. He killed a level 6 mutant with a single sentence. This person must be a level 7 mutant, or even a level 8 mutant. No wonder this person dared to call himself a member of the Star Group. So he has the confidence. However, even so, it'll be difficult for him to save Yang Pejuan from the 5 strongest mutants, right? Countless people were discussing. On the other hand, the pupils of the 5 mutants constricted. Although they could not see through Yi Chen, they could not help but stop underestimating him based on what Yi Chen had done earlier. Wang Hai, who was in the crowd, looked like he had seen a ghost when he saw that. He pointed at Yi Chen and Luo Shuiyao from time to time, while the other party killed a level 6 mutant instantly. And he, Wang Hai, was also a level 6 mutant. Didn't that mean that the young man in the distance, who he had been hostile to along the way, could kill him easily? Thinking to this point, he almost fainted. Subsequently, another level 7 mutant stood out from the Fushi Taiji Consortium's camp. He glared at Yi Chen. B***starred, how dare you kill someone from Fushi Taiji? Almost at that moment, everyone from Fushi Taiji looked at Yi Chen with killing intent on their faces. Their eyes were extremely cold. The atmosphere turned cold. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's calm expression did not change at all. Not only do I dare to kill someone from Fushi Taiji, but I also dare to destroy Fushi Taiji. Do you believe me? This person is too arrogant. How dare he look down on Fushi Taiji? He's courting death. How dare you insult Fushi Taiji? Kill him and restore the dignity of Fushi Taiji. As a few furious voices were heard, a level 7 mutant subsequently slapped Yi Chen with a cold smile on his face. He aimed at Yi Chen's head. Die, brat. The man's smile was extremely ferocious. His arm was like a giant tree trunk that could only be hugged by a few people. It was terrifying. However, Yi Chen did not do anything else. He merely lifted his head and glanced at him. A wisp of sword intent surged from the depths of his deep eyes. The level 7 mutant immediately screamed and fell from the sky with a thud. His body was immediately split into two. His eyes were wide open, as if he had died with a grievance. In just a short span of a breath, a level 7 mutant died. Until now, no one saw how Yi Chen attacked clearly. They only felt that their vision blurred and life and death were decided. Chapter 962. Oh my god, even a level 7 mutant was killed instantly? How is this possible? Could this person be a level 8 mutant? The 4 mutant kings of the star group are only level 7 mutants. When did a level 8 mutant appear? Everyone could not help but cry out in shock. They could not believe what they were seeing. Plop! Wang Hai fell heavily to the ground. He felt as if all the energy in his body had been sucked out. Killing a level 7 mutant. His body trembled as he stammered, What kind of people did I get to know? Meanwhile, the 5 consortiums were dead silent. Especially the people from Fushi Taiji. It had only been a short while, but Fushi Taiji had already lost a level 6 mutant and a level 7 mutant. How could the resources needed to nurture a level 6 mutant be a small amount? They looked at Yi Chen with both fury and fear as they thought to this point. After all, even a level 7 mutant was killed instantly. Yi Chen's ability was intriguing. A few seconds later, the final weapon, Li Yuanhao, looked at Yi Chen fixedly. Who exactly are you, sir? The combat strength that Yi Chen displayed consecutively made him realize that Yi Chen was not much weaker than him. He had to take him seriously. I've already said that you guys don't deserve to know my name. Get the big shots behind you to come out. Yi Chen placed one hand behind his back and looked at everyone coldly. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell silent. Yi Chen was too arrogant. Even the final weapon, Li Yuanhao, who was ranked number 2 on the mutant leaderboard, was looked down upon. The most hot-tempered person on the mutant leaderboard, Chu Kuang, sneered, You sure have a big mouth. I'd like to see where you get your arrogance from. His face was grim as soon as he said that. He was the first to attack and charged at Yi Chen. He extended his left hand like a huge hand that was stirring up a clear spring. In an instant, it turned into nothingness and merged with the void. His left hand has turned into nothingness. As expected of the dark left hand. Just that left hand alone is unpredictable like a ghost. It's impossible to guard against, and it's a sure kill move. Someone exclaimed. Boom! Monstrous energy waves swept through the air and surged toward Yi Chen. They were unfathomable like a vast ocean, causing many people around to have goosebumps. Yi Chen remained calm when faced with such a situation. Subsequently, he suddenly waved his sleeve. In an instant, a violent gust of wind blew between heaven and earth. Chu Kuang's body was swept up by the strong wind like a dead leaf. He then turned into a small black dot and disappeared into the sky. Oh my god, am I hallucinating? He sent a level 8 mutant flying with a wave of his sleeve? Like swatting a fly? Where did this god come from? Isn't he a little too terrifying? I've never heard of this person before. At this moment, everyone was dumbstruck, and they were shocked to the point their jaws almost hit the ground as if they'd seen a ghost. As for the Grand Miss Jean's camp, it was deathly silent. The Primordial Gene Consortium had painstakingly nurtured a genius who was ranked 6th on the mutant leaderboard. Yet, he was sent flying with a wave of his sleeve? They were not the only ones. Even the people from the 6 consortiums, including Pangu Biogenetics, Fushi Taiji, Spiritual Energy Recovery, and Nuwa Godmaker, were shocked. Are you really from the Star Group? At this moment, Qin Bingyan from the Nuwa Godmaker Consortium smiled sweetly. This is only a grudge between the 5 consortiums and the Star Group. Please don't interfere, sir. As she smiled, everyone felt as if 100 flowers had dimmed. Then, they felt their bodies go limp, and they could not muster any strength. Even the 4 mutants present were momentarily dazed. In the end, Weapon Li Yuanhao bit the tip of his tongue and said, "What a powerful enchantment spell." Qin Bingyan smiled confidently. This was the innate skill she had after awakening the fox bloodline in her body. It was the enchantment spell. She was extremely confident in this skill because she had never failed before. However, when she met Yi Chen's gaze confidently, she realized that the scene before her had changed. It was replaced by an endless mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Blurred. Her face suddenly turned pale, and she spat a mouthful of blood. She cried out, "How did you break my enchantment spell so quickly? He must be a saint." Shen Lingxi, who had recovered her spiritual energy, seemed to have recalled something. Her expression changed suddenly as she looked at Yi Chen in fear. "Let's go. This person is too powerful. Let's enter the Jade Emperor Temple quickly and seek that senior's protection." Almost at that moment, Fushi Taiji's ultimate weapon, Li Yuanhao, immediately made a decision. Without saying a word, he led everyone toward the Jade Emperor Temple in the distance. The rest of the people followed suit. At this point, they finally realized the difference between them and Yi Chen. Yang Tian reminded immediately, "Old Yi, don't let them escape. They've already reached an agreement with the old man in the Jade Emperor Temple." Yi Chen stretched his hand out. His giant palm held up the sky. It extended 300 meters away and covered an area of 200 to 300 meters. That kind of power was almost suffocating. Get lost. While the people from the 5 consortiums were shocked, they unleashed their most powerful attack in an attempt to break Yi Chen's seal. At the next moment, Yi Chen pressed his palm down. It shook heaven and earth. The people from the 5 consortiums were all slammed into the ground by this palm, leaving a huge palm print in the ground. When he retracted his hand, there was only a shocking blood stain in the huge palm print. There was no one alive. Dead silence, the world was dead silent. Yang Tian was dumbfounded when he saw that. Holy sh*t, how did old Yi become so powerful? Everyone was shocked. Those were the elite forces of the 5 consortiums. There were even people on the mutant leaderboard among them. However, they were killed by Yi Chen with a single slap? Heavens, is he still human? Could this person be the ancient almighty who awakened behind the star group? If news of this gets out, it will definitely cause a storm that will shock the entire world. The 5 consortiums will go crazy. There was no one who was not shocked. Everyone's body and gaze were trembling. Yi Chen's strength was truly beyond their imagination. On the other hand, Fushi Taiji's Wang Hai had fainted long ago. Only his wet pants proved how much shock and fear he had experienced. Yi Chen's expression remained the same in the face of everyone's gazes. He then walked to Yang Tian slowly and smiled lightly. "How do you feel?" "I won't die." Yang Tian smiled in annoyance. Although that was what he said, blood flowed from the corner of his lips again. Yi Chen flicked his finger and a medicinal pill landed on his hand. Subsequently, he looked straight at the Jade Emperor Temple in the distance. Is the Patriarch inside? Chapter 963. That's right. Yang Tian nodded repeatedly. There was a trace of fear in his eyes as he looked at the Jade Emperor Temple. "Old Yi, there's an ancient almighty sleeping in the temple. He calls himself Saint Blazing Heaven. He's the one who suppressed the Patriarch inside. I know you've gone to Shang Santian and your strength has increased greatly, but you must not be careless." At this point, he could not help but remind, "These sleeping old fellows are as cunning as ghosts." "I know. Take the medicinal pill first and recover from your injuries." Yi Chen smiled nonchalantly. Just as Yang Tian was about to swallow the medicinal pill, he suddenly felt his vision blur. It was as if a hurricane had hit him, and the medicinal pill in his hand disappeared. Yi Chen focused his gaze and looked at a round little fatty with distinct black and white skin next to Yang Tian. It was the little panda from before. It looked like it was only the size of a 1-year-old child. At this moment, the little panda sat on the ground with Yang Tian's medicinal pill in his hand. He gulped. "What a fragrant candy! F***CKU. That's mine." Yang Tian's face turned green. Without another word, he pounced over to snatch the medicinal pill back. However, the panda was even faster than him. It stuffed the medicinal pill into its mouth in an instant and crushed it before swallowing it. "It's so delicious. It's even more delicious than the director's private collection of 6-flavor Rehmannia pills." The little fatty smacked his lips and ignored Yang Tian's wails. He looked at Yi Chen pitifully with a pair of dark circles under his eyes. "Kind man, do you have any more of those candies?" Trump? A gleam flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. He then looked at Yang Tian. "Where did you get this guy?" "I picked him up." Yang Tian seemed to be tired of scolding and said weakly, "I picked him up on the road when I was being chased by the 5 consortiums. This guy pestered me shamelessly, saying that he escaped from the Tianfu Zoo. Oh yeah, his name is Sha Chong." "A mutated panda?" "It's bitter." The little fatty said, "I escaped from the zoo. I got lost with my 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th masters." As it spoke, it counted with its fingers. "I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten for so many days. I'm so young, helpless, and pitiful." There was a faint mist gathering in its pair of dark circles. Grievance, grief, sadness. Yang Tian couldn't take it anymore. "All right, I'm afraid of you. All right, you ate the pill just now." However, Yi Chen did not fall for it. He took out his phone and searched for the Tianfu Zoo online. He saw a title immediately. "Half a year ago, a meteorite fell into our city's Tianfu Zoo. Overnight, ferocious beasts were released. Later, after the interception of the staff, there was still a Siberian tiger, a big gray wolf, a black bear, a snow leopard, and a newborn panda missing." Yi Chen took a good look at the panda before him after reading it. He suspected that the 1st master, 2nd master, and 3rd master that it mentioned were the ones who had gone missing. He took out another pill and threw it to Yang Tian. This time, Yang Tian was smart and swallowed it without saying anything. He then smacked his lips and said, "This candy is really good." At this moment, a dense phenomenon suddenly filled the air, and then someone said, "That fruit has ripened." Following that, everyone could not help but look at the fruit in the distance. Everyone couldn't help but look at the mutant fruit in the distance. They saw that the mutant fruit suddenly had a purple aura explode above it, and it shone brilliantly, as if the evening sun was about to set on the mountain. "Snatch it. It belongs to whoever snatches it." Even though Yi Chen's thunderous methods earlier had completely shocked everyone, there were still people who could not hold it in now that the fruit was right in front of them. In an instant, dozens of figures charged forward. During this process, screams could be heard from time to time. Clearly, these mutants were attacking each other along the way. That was the reality. None of them wanted the other to snatch the ripe purple embryo fruit that was emitting a phenomenon before them. Yi Chen watched that scene with mockery on his face. He had no intention of attacking at all. On the other hand, Yang Tian panicked. "Old Yi, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and snatch it. That's what the patriarch wants." Yi Chen did not explain. Finally, a level 7 mutant approached the fruit. Just when he was about to reach out to pluck it in ecstasy. Hiss, 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 a snake as thick as a finger suddenly fell onto him. "What's that?" The man subconsciously wanted to slap it away, but the moment he did so, the snake, which was as thick as a finger, suddenly grew many times larger. A ferocious mouth came biting down. That person's entire arm was forcefully bitten off. Then, he was swallowed by the giant snake. Such a bloody and cruel scene immediately caused the people who were charging forward to stop in their tracks. Their scalps went numb as they watched this scene. At the next moment, everyone felt a darkness above their heads, as if something was blocking the light. They looked up at the same time. What they saw was a giant bat that was over 30 meters in size. The bat completely spread its wings and descended like a black curtain that covered the sky. Above it, demonic energy surged into the sky. On top of the giant bat, a young man in black clothes with pitch-black eyes leaped down. The bat suddenly transformed into a burly man and landed behind him. Someone's pupils constricted violently before he cried out in shock. "It's the young master of the Black Mountain Ridge, Black Whirlwind." The moment that was said, an extreme storm was stirred up in the crowd. What? From the Black Mountain Ridge? Could he be from the old demon Black Mountain? After the spiritual energy recovery, many animals mutated into mutated beasts. Among them, there were often some unique mutated beasts that advanced to demon kings. In the Black Mountain Ridge in the eastern mountains, there was a demon king that was comparable to an ancient almighty. It was said that this bat had turned into a spirit and called itself the old demon Black Mountain. It ruled over many mutated beasts in the eastern mountains. A demon king that was comparable to an ancient almighty was something that even the 6 consortiums had to respect. They did not dare to offend him. After all, a demon king could command a group of beasts. That kind of combat power would increase exponentially. TSK, the young man in black heard every single word of the crowd's discussion. A hint of mockery appeared on his cold face. "I didn't expect you to know my name. What if I say that the Black Mountain Ridge has taken a fancy to this mutant fruit? I didn't know that it was the young master of the Black Whirlwind. Please forgive us. Your father is the peerless demon king of China. How would we dare to compete with you?" Many people shook their heads. "At least you know what's good for you." The young man in black smiled in satisfaction. Then, he turned around and said to the burly man behind him, "Uncle Ba, pick the mutant fruit." The burly man nodded slightly and walked slowly towards the purple embryo fruit. The people around him could only watch, not daring to move at all. At that moment, a calm voice was heard. "Don't you have to ask for my opinion before touching my things?" Chapter 964. As the voice fell, the entire world suddenly fell silent. The entire world suddenly fell silent, and only the sound of everyone's breathing could be heard. When everyone looked at Yi Chen, they came to a realization. Subsequently, a show flashed through their eyes. Yi Chen's method of killing the people from the 5 consortiums had shocked them. The Black Mountain Ridge's background was equally terrifying. Now that the 2 of them had collided, they were happy to see the outcome no matter what. Almost the moment Yi Chen spoke, the young man in black looked over and suddenly grinned. "Do you dare to say that again?" Although he was smiling, there was endless murderous intent surging in his eyes. The aura that he inadvertently revealed caused the people around him to shudder. "I said, get lost." An extremely calm voice came from Yi Chen's mouth slowly. At first, it was very calm. However, in the end, it was as if 100 bolts of lightning had exploded in the sky. The young man in black's expression changed. He could not help but take a few steps back, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his lips. So powerful! That was the only thought in his mind. He was the son of the Demon King, the Black Mountain Ridge demon. Even though he was not the strongest among his brothers, he was not weaker than a level 9 mutant. However, Yi Chen almost severely injured him with just a sentence. How could he not be shocked by such a technique? At the same time, the burly man behind him stood in front of him almost at the same time. He looked at Yi Chen fearfully. Meanwhile, the people around them held their breath. The young man in black said slowly, "I am the son of the Black Mountain Ridge's Demon King, the Black Mountain Ridge. May I know who you are?" He mentioned the Black Mountain Ridge demon's name without hesitation to warn Yi Chen. At that moment, Yang Tian, who was next to Yi Chen, said softly, "Old Yi, the Black Mountain Ridge demon is a demon king from the eastern mountains. He's also the one who controlled the beast horde to invade China's cities. It can be said that he's the Star Group's mortal enemy." With that, He took a step forward and sneered at the young man in black. "Old bat, do you still remember me? It's you." The young man in black's eyes focused as killing intent filled his body. "Star Group's Yongpajuan, you're still alive." Before he came, he had heard that the Star Group's Patriarch of Hell had been suppressed, and the fate of the Star Group's #1 general, Yongpajuan, was unknown. "How can I die before I destroy your Black Mountain Ridge and kill your father, that old bat?" Yang Tian grinned. "Bastard!" The young man in black was furious. He then looked at Yi Chen. "Sir, I don't want to be your enemy. However, the person behind you is the enemy of Black Mountain Ridge. Please hand him to me. Black Mountain Ridge will definitely reward you handsomely." "Ha ha, you really are an idiot." Yang Tian laughed out loud. "Star Group was founded by old Yi. Now that the real person is right in front of you, you actually don't know him." "The founder of Star Group?" The young man in black glared at Yi Chen as soon as he said that. Subsequently, he seemed to have recalled something and cried out, "Why, you're mad, Southern Yi?" As his voice fell, the world fell into dead silence. Everyone felt as if they had been struck by countless bolts of lightning. They stared blankly at the skinny figure in the arena. Why mad Southern Yi? The former #1 person in China. The former #1 person in Southeast Asia. So he didn't die. Instead, he returned. No wonder he claimed to be from the Star Group the moment he appeared. No wonder he was able to display battle prowess comparable to the Patriarch of Hell and kill the people from the 5 consortiums. Almost at that moment, countless people's eyes twitched and their bodies trembled. Their minds were filled with a rumble. The former Emperor of China had returned. "I've only left for less than a year." Under everyone's gaze, Yi Chen took a step forward. "You guys have forgotten about my thunder and rain in the past. Looks like I didn't kill you guys completely. Run." The young man in black urged the burly man without even thinking. "Uncle Ba, run, run quickly. Only my father can deal with this person." Roar. The burly man roared, and his body expanded. Then, he turned into a huge bat. He spread his wings and carried the young man in black to escape. "Where do you think you're going?" Yi Chen smirked coldly. He extended his hand forward like a majestic mountain ridge and covered the two of them directly. "No." The young man in black and the giant bat under him roared in unison. "Mad Southern Yi, you can't kill us. I'm the son of the Black Mountain Demon. Shut up. As a mutant, you've repeatedly invaded human cities, causing countless families to be destroyed and the world to be in chaos. If I don't kill you, how am I going to explain it to the people in the world? If I don't kill you, how am I going to pay tribute to the souls of the humans who died in your hands?" Yi Chen's gaze remained the same. He grabbed the two of them with one hand and held them in his hand. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. Bang, with a loud bang, the two of them turned into bloody mist in his hand. Not even their bones were left. Everyone was shocked. Every pore and every cell in their body was trembling, and even their souls were trembling. The Black Mountain Ridge was going crazy. That thought appeared in everyone's mind. Yi Chen killing the people from the Black Mountain Ridge was equivalent to completely falling out with the Black Mountain Ridge. Yang Tian was also shocked by Yi Chen's continuous attack. He could not help but gulp and say, "Old Yi, your combat strength is comparable to a demon king like the Black Mountain Demon." "Demon king?" Yi Chen chuckled softly and did not explain. He scanned the entire place slowly with his cold gaze. He was like a godly king that suppressed heaven and earth. No one dared to look him in the eye. It was because he was Mad Southern Yi. It was because he had used his actions to prove that even with the recovery of spiritual energy, even if everyone cultivated, Mad Southern Yi was still the same Mad Southern Yi. After Yi Chen scanned the entire place, he extended his hand and waved at the purple embryo fruit. The purple embryo fruit landed in his hand and was sealed by a spirit-sealing talisman to prevent the medicinal effects from escaping. After doing all of this, he finally looked at the Jade Emperor Temple in the distance. "I'd like to see who this legendary ancient almighty is." With that, his body swayed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared outside the Jade Emperor Temple. The Jade Emperor Temple was also known as the Tai Ching Palace and the Jade Emperor Temple. No one knew when it was built and who built it. However, since ancient times, this place had been used by the ancient emperors to set up the altar for the huge ceremony of heavenly worship. In front of the temple, there was a stone tablet that was 6 meters tall and about 2 meters wide. The stone tablet was simple and thick, but there was not a single word on it. It was a wordless stone tablet. Yi Chen extended his hand and touched the surface of the tablet gently. Then, mysterious divine patterns surged on the stone tablet. Subsequently, an ancient power surged. Under his gaze, a line of words that looked like swimming tadpoles suddenly appeared on the surface of the tablet. On the other hand, Yi Chen's calm expression changed. Chapter 965. Inside the Jade Emperor Temple. In a relatively remote stone room, the surrounding stone walls were densely inlaid with red stones, illuminating the entire stone room. The layout of the entire stone room was very simple. Apart from the meditation mat, there was only a huge cauldron. It was a huge bronze cauldron that was more than 3 meters tall. There was a formation engraved under the huge cauldron, and there were many fire origin stones. At that moment, scorching flames were shooting out from the fire origin stones. Beside the huge cauldron, there was a young man about 15 or 16 years old. He was tied up and lying on the ground. Sigh, a single mistake brings everlasting sorrow. The young man's youthful face revealed a look that did not match his age. Why am I so despicable? To think that I, the Patriarch of Hell, was once a tribulation transcendence powerhouse. Now, I'm going to be thrown into the cauldron by that green bull and refined into a pill. The young man muttered as he struggled. As he struggled, the golden rope on his body would shrink violently. Who else could it be but the Patriarch of Hell? After hearing that a mutant fruit had appeared on Mount Tai, he rushed over. In the end, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the mutant fruit was a purple embryo fruit, which would be of great help to his cultivation. The Patriarch was very arrogant. He did not take the people from the 5 consortiums seriously at all. Thinking that there was still some time before the purple embryo fruit ripened, he wandered around the peak of Mount Tai. In the end, he finally discovered the magic of the Jade Emperor Temple. He could not hold back his curiosity, so he used all his might to tear open the formation and enter the Jade Emperor Temple. Before he could see clearly, he was kicked from behind. The force of the kick was so great that he was knocked unconscious. It was so fast that he, a perfected master of the Golden Core stage, could not react in time. When he woke up, he realized that he was tied up. The rope that tied him up was a magic treasure similar to the immortal binding rope. Then, a cow suddenly popped out, rubbing and pinching him. As it did so, it cackled, "What a pure body of spiritual energy! It just so happens that the supreme treasure pill that I'm going to concoct is still lacking a main ingredient. You'll be the one." During that period, the Patriarch put on all sorts of pretense. First, he pretended to be an expert and threatened the other party to let him go. Then, he admitted defeat and called the other party daddy. However, the other party did not buy it. "Sigh, Japanese girls, goodbye." The old ancestor sighed faintly. Before he died, the people he was most reluctant to part with were actually the little sisters he had once enjoyed with. "Ha ha ha, my little darling, I've finally gathered all of them." At this moment, an extremely excited laughter came from the empty stone chamber. Then, a green bull swung its bullwhip and walked over in an extremely flashy manner. There was a medicinal cauldron hanging on each of its long horns, and the cauldrons were filled with a strong medicinal fragrance. Boom! The 2 cauldrons fell heavily to the ground. "Who's that, little sweetheart?" The green ox glanced at the Patriarch of Hell on the ground and grinned. "See what I've prepared for you." Little darling, when the Patriarch heard this, He felt a chill down his spine. As the cow spoke, it reached out with its hoof and took out an item from a cauldron. Do you know what this is? This is a Polygonum multiflorum that's over 2,000 years old. It contains endless essence energy. Mortals can get rid of all diseases and live a long life just by smelling it. This is the lotus seed produced by the purple jade spirit lotus. Just one seed can increase a cultivator's cultivation by 60 years. It picked up another item and said, "This is the phoenix blood sacred fruit. It's said that it grows from phoenix blood. My former master spent a lot of effort to obtain it. Unfortunately, it's mine now. This is the seven-cloud lotus. This is the Bodhi tree's heart." As it showed off its treasures, the patriarch of Hell's eyes turned red, and he did not hide his jealousy at all. Damn it, I didn't expect this old cow to be so rich. Any one of them is something that can only be encountered by luck in the cultivation world. Any one of them is enough for my cultivation base to soar. Damn it, where did this weirdo come from? Could it be the mount of a Taoist saint? Facing the patriarch's glowing red eyes, the green ox rubbed its hands and chuckled. Don't be jealous. It's fine. I'll refine you together with these supreme herbs later. Do you know who I am? The patriarch cursed without hesitation. The three pure ones are my younger brothers. Hong Jun and I have sworn brotherhood. How dare you touch me, clang. The ox's hoof kicked over heavily. The patriarch saw stars. You son of a b****, clang, clang, clang. Another kick of hooves came flying over. The green ox said in all seriousness, "You're wrong. I'm not a son of a b****. To be precise, I'm a bull." The patriarch of Hell was speechless. After that, the green ox ignored him and stood guard beside the huge pill cauldron. It breathed out strong wind and flames from its nose, as if it wanted to heat up the pill cauldron as soon as possible. When the patriarch of Hell saw that, he really panicked. He rolled his eyes and said, Old cow, I'm about to die. Can you fulfill a small wish of mine?" Only then did the green ox turn to look at him. "I have a pack of cigarettes in my pocket. I've been trapped by you for almost a month, and I'm addicted to smoking. Can you let me take a few puffs?" "What's a cigarette?" The green ox immediately came over curiously. "You'll know when you take it out. It's in the left pocket of my clothes." "Yes, that's the bag." After the green ox took out a pack of cigarettes according to the instructions, its eyes widened. "Marlboro? This thing is called Marlboro? Don't waste time. Hurry up and give me one. The rest are all yours," the old ancestor urged. The green ox thought about it and felt that it was not losing out. It simply took out a cigarette and placed it in the patriarch's mouth before lighting one for itself. Shoo, the two of them took a puff at the same time. The patriarch said with a look of enjoyment, "How do you feel?" The green ox took a puff, and the cigarette was instantly reduced to ashes. Without saying a word, it took out 2 more cigarettes and took another puff. How satisfying! It closed its eyes in enjoyment with an intoxicated expression. "This thing is really an immortal medicine." "That's right." The patriarch rolled his eyes a few times. "I'm not afraid to tell you that this thing is incomparably precious outside. It's not inferior to supreme great medicine. Just the great medicine that you took out to show off to me just now can barely be exchanged for a bag." "Really?" The green ox was in disbelief. The patriarch of Hell felt guilty and hurriedly said, "In fact, I forgot to tell you something just now. Before you suck this thing, you need to add an incantation. If you add this incantation, the effect will be 10 times better than not chanting the incantation. Sucking 1 is equivalent to sucking 10. Clang, clang, clang. The ox's hooves kicked again, causing the patriarch to see stars and his face to swell. Only then did the green ox move its hooves away. "Tell me." Chapter 966. The patriarch gritted his teeth in hatred. He could only suppress his grievance and say with an extremely sincere smile, the incantation for this item only has 3 words, and that's F***ck your mother. F***ck your mother? The green ox was stunned at first. Then, he looked at the patriarch suspiciously. You're not lying to me? Is the incantation really that short? As soon as he spoke, the patriarch realized that he seemed to be at a disadvantage. He hurriedly changed his words. Actually, I lied to you because this incantation is a technique that is not passed down by my sect. Clang, 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 a few more hooves were kicked over. The patriarch sucked the blood from his nose and said tearlessly, the real incantation is still 3 words, and that's F***ck my mother. I've told you everything now. I didn't hide anything. You've done well. Only then did the green ox nod in satisfaction. He took out another cigarette and lit it up. He took a deep puff and muttered, F***ck my mother. F***ck my mother. F***ck my mother. He did not know if it was an illusion, but the more he muttered, the smoother he felt. He immediately said excitedly, You don't say, after this incantation, the effect is indeed greatly increased. Looking at his silly look, the Patriarch of Hell almost laughed out loud. He was secretly pleased with himself. You're as cunning as a ghost. In the end, you still have to drink the water that I wash my feet with. Thinking to this point, he said mischievously again, Brother Ox, I suddenly remembered that there are actually 2 more incantations. The effect is even better than the one you just chanted. He held back his laughter and said, Listen carefully. The second incantation is Yalai Dai, and the third is Iku Iku. The green ox took out another cigarette and took a deep puff. He stomped the ground with his hooves. Yalai Dai, Iku Iku, Iku Iku. After a few times, the cauldron had completely heated up. The green ox lifted the patriarch up without saying a word. All right, I've just sent you into the cauldron. Don't. The Patriarch of Hell immediately panicked. At least let me go on account of the rare item that I contributed to the myriad treasures path and taught you the incantation of our sect. The green ox chuckled. Do you really think I'm stupid? If I'm not wrong, there's something wrong with your incantations just now. Patriarch Yellow Spring was shocked. How did this stupid cow know that I'm pranking it? Could it be that it knows the meaning of those 3 sentences? The next moment, the green ox thought that it was extremely smart and said, If I'm not wrong, the 3 incantations should be chanted together and not separately. Patriarch Yellow Spring was speechless. All right, your time is up. The green ox lifted him up and directly opened the lid of the pill cauldron. Without saying a word, it threw him in and closed the lid. It was said that after Patriarch Yellow Spring was stuffed into the cauldron, he fell into a pool of medicinal liquid. At that moment, the medicinal liquid was boiling and countless bubbles were bubbling. With the Patriarch's body, although this temperature was not enough to completely boil him, the Patriarch knew that the green ox would definitely raise the temperature of the flames outside. At that time, even he wouldn't be able to withstand it. Damn it! The Patriarch could not move at all and allowed the medicinal liquid to cover him. He felt aggrieved. I, the Patriarch of Yellow Spring, dominated the cultivation world in my previous life. I didn't expect to die like this. The temperature of the medicinal liquid was getting higher and higher. What a dense medicinal liquid! The Patriarch could not help but swallow a mouthful. Immediately, he felt extremely warm. He gritted his teeth and said, Damn it. Fortunately, Fellow Yi taught me the spirit-devouring technique before she left. I'd like to see if you can refine me faster, or if I can refine this medicinal liquid faster. He immediately activated the spirit-devouring technique that Yi Chun had taught him as he thought to this point. He swallowed the medicinal liquid in the pill cauldron crazily and refined it crazily. Soon, he drank half of the medicinal liquid in the jar. Gulp, gulp. The sound of water being sucked could be heard from the pill cauldron. What's that sound? The green ox, who was guarding outside, moved its ears and stuck its face close to the pill cauldron. It wanted to open the lid to take a look, but it was worried that the medicinal fragrance would cause the pill refinement to fail. I heard from Master that when refining supreme treasured pills, there will be a phenomenon like the sea boiling. Thinking to this point, the green ox was instantly excited. This means that I made the right choice. At the next moment, it threw the supreme medicines that it had painstakingly collected into the spiritual medicine slot one by one. Immediately after, it opened its mouth and spat out samadhi true fire, covering the entire pill cauldron. Is this that stupid ox's 2,000-year-old knotweed? The patriarch in the pill cauldron looked at the golden object that fell down, and his eyes turned red. Without saying a word, he bit it with his mouth, chewed it quickly, and swallowed it. This is that stupid ox's fengshui holy fruit. As the supreme medicines were thrown in, the green ox outside suddenly sensed that something was amiss. Why isn't that patriarch moving? At this moment, a series of screams came from the pill cauldron. Ah, it's so hot, it's burning me, I'm going to die. Only then did the green ox calm down and continue to throw supreme medicines. At the thought that it was about to refine a supreme treasure pill, it could not help but take out a cigarette and smoke. It couldn't help but take out a cigarette and start smoking. F***ck my Mayan butterfly. As the patriarch in the pill cauldron swallowed more and more supreme medicines, his body emitted rays of golden light. If one took a closer look, they would discover that there was a golden spot of light in his body that was gradually condensing and finally turning into a golden pearl. Corporeal core. I've finally condensed a corporeal core. The patriarch of hell was so excited that he wanted to say something. The golden core stage was divided into void core and corporeal core. At the beginning of the golden core stage, one only needed to condense a void core in their body. If one wanted to step into the middle stage of the golden core stage, they had to condense a corporeal core. Based on the patriarch's original plan, he would need at least half a year to step into the middle stage of the golden core stage. However, it was a blessing in disguise now. Stupid ox, just you wait. When I completely condense a corporeal core and officially step into the middle stage of the golden core stage, this broken rope of yours won't be able to trap me anymore. The patriarch of hell held his breath. When that time comes, I'll seal your cultivation base and throw you into the cow pen. I'll find a few rutting cows to ravage you. When the green ox outside saw the faint golden light emitting from the pill cauldron, it became even more excited. Divine radiance, this is divine radiance. The phenomenon has appeared again. It seems like I'm destined to refine a furnace of supreme treasure pills. Once I refine a supreme treasure pill and consume it, I'll definitely achieve the great Tao of a saint. It once again summoned true samadhi fire and enveloped the pill cauldron. It could not wait for time to pass. The patriarch was also frantically refining the medicinal properties. The two of them were competing to see who could refine first. Chapter 967. Almost at that moment, outside the Jade Emperor Temple, Yi Chen fixed his eyes on the wordless stone tablet. The tadpole-like words that suddenly appeared on the wordless stone tablet moved his expression. Pre-Qin language. The stone tablet was written in Pre-Qin language. This was the second time he had seen Pre-Qin language. The first time was when he was studying the forbidden ancient Desolate Realm tablet in the ancient Desolate Realm. The Pre-Qin language on the stone tablet in front of him happened to be 4 words. 2 of them were blurry and incomplete, as if they had decayed in the long river of time. Eternal suppression. Yi Chen secretly frowned. Eternal suppression of what? Eternal suppression of the universe? Eternal suppression of Mount Tai? Eternal suppression of China? For some reason, he had an extremely strong urge at that moment. It was as if an extremely mysterious power was telling him that as long as he could decipher the last 2 words, he might be able to grasp the big secret. However, he could not recognize the last 2 words at all. He read the entire stone tablet again, trying to see the extra words on it so that he could deduce more. However, there were no other words on the stone tablet. Seeing that he was motionless, Yang Tian could not help but walk over and ask, "Old Yi, what's wrong? What's on this tablet?" Luo Tianyao and his sister also stopped to watch. Luo Shuiyao was hugging the little panda in her arms. She even reached out to touch it, but she still looked confused as if she could not see anything. Yi Chen said, "Did you guys see anything?" "What can you see?" Luo Shuiyao said angrily. "Isn't it just a lousy stone tablet? Could it be that you can see something from it?" Luo Tianyao and Yi Wushuang shook their heads. "Looks like I'm the only one who can see it." Yi Chen shook his head lightly. He was a little wary. Why am I the only one who can see it? Is it a coincidence or is it man-made? Suddenly, he could not help but think of the forbidden ancient desolate realm tablet in his storage ring. He really wanted to take it out and compare it with it, trying to find out if there were any similarities between the two stone tablets. However, he could not expose himself in front of everyone. Forget it. He shook his head to himself and leaped over the wordless stone tablet, landing at the entrance to the Jade Emperor Temple. "Be careful, there's a formation," Luo Tianyao reminded. Then, he condensed a sword chi and slashed over. As the space shook, the sword chi was immediately repelled. Yi Chen chuckled softly. Subsequently, he performed mysterious hand seals with both of his hands naturally. Great 5 Elements Forbidden Technique Break. As the mysterious hand seals shot out, everyone heard a series of cracking sounds, like glass shattering. "You can pass." Yi Chen took a step inside. Everyone followed behind him. Almost at the moment when Yi Chen broke through the formation, Yi Chen's eyes widened. In the stone chamber in the Jade Emperor Temple, the expression of the green ox, who was guarding beside the pill cauldron, suddenly changed. "Why is someone here again? Damn it!" White gas was coming out of the green ox's nose. He snorted and said, "Can't you come a little later? This old bull's supreme treasure pill is about to be refined. This won't do. I can't let the intruder know that I'm refining a supreme treasure pill. Otherwise, it would be the same as giving someone else a wedding dress." Thinking to this point, the green ox's eyes flickered non-stop. Then, it abandoned the pill cauldron that was about to be refined and headed straight for the hall. What it did not know was that there was an aura inside the pill cauldron that was becoming more and more powerful. In the main hall of the Jade Emperor Temple, Yi Chen and the rest stepped in. Yi Chen and the rest stepped in. The first thing they saw was a tall bronze statue. It looked like a god sitting on top, looking down at them. On the plaque on the shrine, there were a few large words. Chai Wang Yifeng. The strokes were vigorous and powerful, faintly containing the truths of heaven and earth. "I don't see anyone." Luo Shuiyao walked at the front nonchalantly. She suddenly looked around before turning her head to Yang Tian and said, "Are you sure that the Patriarch of Hell is suppressed here?" "I'm sure." Yang Tian hurriedly swore. "I came in once before, but I was kicked out before I could see clearly." As soon as he said that, Yi Chen, who had been silent all this while, suddenly pulled Luo Shuiyao over and said at the same time, "Be careful." In that instant, an afterimage flashed past the place where Luo Shuiyao had been and then disappeared without a trace. What was that? Yang Tian's expression changed slightly, and then he said subconsciously, "Damn it, I remember now. It was this thing that kicked me just now." Yi Chen said with a strange expression, "It looks like a cow hoof." "What did you say? Ox hooves?" Yang Tian's eyes widened. "Old Yi, are you sure you're not mistaken? In other words, it was a hoof that kicked me out?" As he spoke, he rubbed his buttocks inelegantly. Damn, that kick was really fierce. How could a cow's hoof be so strong? "Be careful." Yi Chen suddenly looked at him. Yang Tian was stunned and could not react for a moment. Then, he felt a sharp pain on his buttocks and he was sent flying. Almost at that moment, Yi Chen held the true martial thousand lightning sword in his hand and slashed. A cow's cry resounded in the air. In the next moment, a cow hoof landed on the ground. Luo Shuiyao rushed over and picked it up. She was shocked. Yi Chen, you guessed it right. It's really an ox hoof. Yang Tian, who came in again, was dumbfounded when he saw the item in her hand. In other words, it was a cow that ambushed us just now? Damn it. Damn cow, when we catch you, we'll pull out your tendons, peel off your skin, stew your bones, and put vermicelli in for hot pot. Although he said that, he still looked around nervously, especially behind him, afraid that he would be kicked out again. In the stone room, the green ox limped back and spoke with a trembling voice. A saint has actually descended. If I hadn't run fast, I would have been killed by the saint's sword. Where did this saint come from? No, I can't stay here anymore. I have to leave quickly. I have to find a place to hide and continue refining my supreme treasure pills. I'll come back for revenge after I become a saint. As it spoke, it walked to the cauldron and tried to carry it away, and the guy who said he wanted to pull out my tendons, peel off my skin, stew my bones, and eat hot pot with vermicelli. I'll skin you first when I get back. When its hoof landed on the cauldron, the entire cauldron shook violently, as if there was an earthquake. At the same time, an extremely powerful aura emanated from the cauldron. It was the aura of a quasi-saint. The green ox was dumbfounded. What's going on? Boom! Following an earth-shattering tremor, the lid of the cauldron was lifted high, and a figure shot out from the cauldron. Ha ha ha, stupid cow, I've broken through. Now, it's my turn to ravage you. The Patriarch of Hell's laughter followed. P.S. I've been writing the 8th chapter since morning. I'm so tired. I realized that I've overestimated myself. I can't write anymore. I still lack 2 chapters. I'll make up for it in tomorrow's update. In other words, there will be 6 chapters tomorrow.